And there we go. So theoretically, we should now be live. So,
Awesome. And here's the link. Getting ahead of things for once today.
oh, good. All right. Well, considering that we were actually on time, but then you said, "Oh, gotta run," because you forgot to grab a bottle opener.
These bears aren't going to open themselves.
What? We're not watching Star Trek V yet. You don't need beers for this one.
No, this is for the fun of it.
Okay. Yeah. The beers will definitely be necessary for Star Trek V. All right. So do not forget that you definitely want to join us in the stream room for this, because we're going to have a full-on Kahn-orama tonight. So not only are we going to be watching the director's cut of Star Trek II, but we're also going to be watching Space Seed just before it. So we're going to watch the episode that, of course, inspired Star Trek II, and then Star Trek II itself. What most people would argue, and very few people would argue against, being the greatest Star Trek film of all.
Even I recognize that Star Trek II was... Did I put it at the top or did I put it next to the top? I
think you actually put Star Trek II at the top.
Yes, I did. Followed by 6. So yeah. Even I got that one.
Yeah. So even Matthew isn't so stupid as to put Star Trek V ahead of Star Trek II. Now, granted, there are weirdos out there that might, but yeah, Matthew is not among them. But you haven't seen Star Trek II in a very long time, and I don't believe you've ever seen the director's cut.
No, I have not. I think the last time I watched Wrath of Khan was close to 2 decades ago.
Yeah. So, one thing to look for is the and thank you.
Sorry, Koff Vulcan $1. As I recall, I opposed your enlistment in Starfleet. It is possible that judgment was incorrect. Your associates are people of good character.
And so Sarek giving a quote, not from Star Trek II, but Matthew wouldn't know that because it's Matthew. But thank you, Sarek. Talking about Spock's choosing friends of good character. But see, now, one thing to look for in this particular director's cut. Unfortunately, what's not in here is the deleted scene in which we find out that Saavik is half Romulan. That is actually a deleted scene. That's not part of any director's cut. But what is in here is the story of Peter Preston. Peter Preston is a character who appears in the theatrical cut, but basically appears and gives like 2 lines of dialogue, and then you're trying to figure out, why are we supposed to care about this kid when he dies? Because and you're like, why do I care? Why is Scotty all upset? Why is Kirk like all worked up about it? Why does anybody give a crap about Peter Preston?
That guy, okay.
Yeah, the kid, basically.
Okay.
And in the director's cut, Peter Preston has a lot more context. And so it's not like 20 minutes or anything, but Peter Preston has a good 2 or 3 minutes in the movie that give him a little bit of character. You understand who he is, why he exists, and why people care about him. And so Peter Preston is something to look for. Almost everything he says in the director's cut is specific to the director's cut.
Okay.
And so I think you'll like that. But other than that, the director's cut is not as big a difference as what we saw from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Little tweaks here and there, but honestly, it's not like a huge difference in editing.
Okay. And Richie Poole is saying that we actually need to see Cat's Paw to establish Chekhov's presence on the ship before Space Seed. Now, I do recall Cat's Paw. It was one of the more interesting TOS episodes.
Cat's Paw we will actually be watching in a few weeks, because guess what's in a few weeks, guys?
5, 4, Halloween.
Halloween, yes. Jeez, people are dumb. Yes, Halloween. So we will be watching Cat's Paw just for Halloween, because, but I don't know why you have to. How do you figure Cat's Paw establishes Chekhov on the ship?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't quite get that, but yeah, the only explanation, and
New Kahn $1.
Oh,
a
new
remnant of a time long past, genetically engineered to be superior so as to lead
so
others
new
to peace in
Kahn,
the world
thank
at
you.
war. But we were condemned as criminals, forced into exile. For centuries we slept, hoping when we awoke things would be different.
So thank you, Kahn. New Kahn. Oh, I get it. New Kahn, because it's Kahn from the Kelvin timeline. That's a line. I was like, that doesn't sound like what Kahn said, but it was Kahn from Star Trek Into Darkness. Got it. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, New Kahn. Which, I gotta say, Star Trek Into Darkness, I think it's a little bit of a bad rap. Yes, Spock yelling Kahn was horrible, but I don't think that movie was as bad as some people make it out to be. And Richie, I'm sorry that it has an earlier star date, because star dates in the original series were just random. They
Okay. There's the connection.
Yeah. Anyway, and Squidward says a good Christian like you celebrates Halloween. I'll say this. I don't talk about Halloween a lot, but I will say this much. I don't think that dressing up in a silly costume and knocking on people's doors and asking for candy makes you a pagan or Satan worshiper any more than I think that showing up for church on Christmas and Easter makes you a Christian.
True that.
All right, so that's all I'm going to say about that. So, and we're not here to argue about theology. Anyway, so I did promise, and I will uphold that promise, that because Star Trek II is the greatest Star Trek ever published, in my humble opinion, I will not do any of my normal prankstery things during Star Trek II. So from the first moment that Star Trek II begins, all the way through the end credits of Star Trek II, no shenanigans.
All right. The more you protest your innocence, the more suspicious of you I am.
I'm just saying, I've said what I said a couple of times.
I actually have been wondering this whole week leading up to this. I said, am I actually going to see Space Seed tonight?
Yes.
Or
no, Space Seed, I do
I
do a couple,
guys.
I admit there's some
don't know what's
shenanigans. No. I admit I insert a little bit of shenanigans in Space Seed, I think. Do I? Maybe not. I might not have. I don't remember if I did any shenanigans in Space Seed. I know I do some shenanigans in later ones, but I don't remember if I did in Space Seed or not. But as far as Star Trek II, come on, I'm not gonna like randomly throw your head in the middle of the Mutara Nebula or something like that. Like what? I'm not gonna do that, because it is way too cool.
A shot goes wide, my head blows up.
Yeah, that as fun as that would be to do, no, there's none of that. From the very first frame of the film to the end of the credits, no shenanigans. That's my promise to you.
Okay.
And so, without any further ado, let's get this ball rolling. Go ahead and get it going. Don't forget to click on the link, guys. I hope you have your popcorn ready. And
Garikov Cardassia $1.
Garrick!
Because any imperfections in the forgery will appear to be a result of the explosion. So, with a seemingly legitimate rod in one hand and a
Moonlight.
dead senator in the other,
well, we're not trying to do a forgery here. This is I'm not sure why that particular quote. Yeah, we're definitely there's no evil shenanigans. I promise there's no evil shenanigans from the first frame of the movie to the end of the credits. Nothing.
Okay, I'm hitting the play button.
All right, good.
Here we go.
There we go. There we go.
And Yes, this is a Flash T-shirt. Although, I was down in
Yeah, why
Critters
didn't you-
Village, which is the biggest flea market in the world, allegedly. And some guy looks at me. He goes, "Shazam!" And I'm like, "Oh no, it's me as an old man."
Couldn't be an Earth ship. Kirk's kind of a dick to her here.
Because Vulcans are jerks. And I like having them put in their place every once in a while.
Well, you know. You know what I meant to do, and I never got around to it, was to like do a freeze frame when Scotty decks that one augment and just, you know, zoom in and enhance like a dozen times on that about how Scotsmen are just naturally superpowered.
I think I had you muted somehow. What,
You-
what would a stream be with me without tech audio issues?
Well, you know, you are kind of an idiot when it comes to that. And why do you always have your video? Oh, that's right, because you're weird and you want to be able to see yourself and not be mirrored.
Exactly. See, if I raise my hand, left hand shows up on the screen. It's extremely distracting if it's not.
How about you just not watch yourself? Are you really that narcissistic that you got to watch yourself all the time?
Well, I do so many errors as I, do streams. I have to have a monitor up to know that I'm not like just completely biffing it on the stream.
How about you just
Now, I don't know
relax?
Huh? I don't know. You're talking nuts again.
What about relaxing?
Yeah, that's
Like,
crazy
I know
talk.
that sometimes what I do looks horrible and stuff, but I just am who I am, you know?
Now, I don't know if it's this way for you, but was Kirk's voice really far away for the intro? right
Yes. And that has something to do with Play On and the way that it downloads these episodes and the multi-track audio. For whatever reason, that audio track is like distant. I don't know why.
It's actually not Play On. Like I've done this on, was it Paramount or Amazon? Whichever one I got it from. I did a test and I found that sometimes they have
Well,
his
it's the
voice
way
set
that
to the
the
center
audio,
channel.
right? It's the way that the
below.
audio track is set on Paramount
The
Plus
service.
as opposed to
Yeah.
Amazon or whatever. Like, I think Paramount Plus has it set to full 5.1 surround as opposed to just stereo or whatever.
Yeah,
And
exactly,
so,
Darth.
well, I am whose I am. I'm Salty the Sailor Man. Well, you know. And no, this is the HD version. It may look a little fuzzy, but it depends on the individual episodes. Sometimes the film quality is a little off. And these are zoomed in a little bit. I stopped doing that later because I zoomed in to try and beat the copyright bots, but then I realized, if they're going to ding me, they're going to ding me. So I think this is
CBS.
I think this is the last episode.
CBS is
I've
like the
done.
Vulcans.
Yeah. Complete dicks, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that looked kind of like that wasn't Sing, was it? The guy that was working with Nomad.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. McGivers.
Someone's mind. And here you can see that she's obsessed with
Hey, look at that. She is so pissed off that, I mean, she has nothing to do. Her entire job is 20th century history on a starship. And she's pissed off that she finally gets called out to do something.
What a cushy gig. I mean, there are definitely academics in the world who want this sort of federal grant research. And there you go. There's an instance of McCoy not liking the transporter.
Right, but it's not like he's refusing to get on there. You know, that's my point. And we're going to get some casual racism here in 3, 2... Oh, this is your kind of episode. I forgot.
What, with the Ubermensch?
Well, just the casual racism in general. Like the fact that she so quickly identifies his religious orientation based on his race.
Now, to be fair on that one, of course I'm going to defend the racism. Now, to be fair on that one...
Oh, please defend the racism. I'm all ears. Yeah.
So, honestly, to be fair on that one, if I was, say, looking at religion from the 15th century, and I saw someone's ethnicity, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, this is probably yada, yada, yada. You know, here we have someone from the Middle East. So 1500s, I think that would predate Islam?
No.
1500s?
Islam started about 6th century.
Which version of it, though?
Well, the Islamic calendar starts 600 and some odd years after the Christian calendar.
Yeah, but the actual
Wait, here
Muhammad...
it is, right here. She's going to listen to how she identifies him. She's like already in love with him.
It's a jawline.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you're right. Muhammad was 600.
Yeah.
80.
Okay, right here, I think. Okay. Everything about that sentence was wrong. Okay, so Ricardo Montalban, definitely not Indian. All right.
But didn't you see the makeup they put on him? That totally makes it.
Right. Well, no, but I love that everything about that sentence was wrong. So he's obviously not Indian. He's Latin, but if he was from northern India, he would not probably be a Sikh, because while most Sikhs are from northern India, most northern Indians are Hindu, not Sikhs. If you look at the statistics, she has her numbers wrong. She should have said, if she said from the northern Indian region, probably a Hindu. Third,
I honestly wonder how accurate we are with our information from
today.
Years ago. From the day to 500 years ago.
Well,
wait. How far in the future was Singh though? He was only 200.
This is only this. See right here, he says like 2 centuries, I think. Granted, it's...
Yeah. Oh yeah, 2 centuries. Okay, so that's a little less forgivable to be this completely wrong.
She isn't, but she is a historian, right? We're not talking about some casual, I don't know, like if she was talking to you or me. She is a historian. We just saw her painting people from various eras of history, right?
Well, maybe she thinks that the Romans came from the 20th century.
Right.
I mean, who knows how damaged her records are?
Right. So Anyway, anyway, so most people from northern India were actually Hindu, not Sikhs. But then she goes on to say that because he's probably a Sikh, they were the most fantastic warriors. Sikhs are actually mostly pacifists. So everything about her statement was wrong.
What's that quote from one of the Adam Sandler movies?
Yeah.
Everything you said was wrong, and everyone is dumber for having heard you said it.
Yes.
And John's saying it'd be about 270 years after the eugenics wars. Okay.
Now, we find out later, and we'll find out later tonight, Kahn will actually state in Star Trek II that the Botany Bay was launched in 1996. You remember, during the Clinton administration.
Yeah, I was trying to decide if in 96, what sort of fun historical things were going on in 96?
Yeah,
I
well,
think that was
it was the Monica Lewinsky thing was all just a distraction so that we didn't know about the whole populations being bombed out of existence thing.
I mean, I knew I wasn't that up to date with historical events, but wow. Way to go, 96 Matthew.
Yeah. See. Yeah, they could have been impeached. And yes, Lancer, 96. That's what he says. I'm saying I know the Lewinsky scandal came out slightly later, but the Lewinsky scandal was just to prevent the Kahn thing from being discovered. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Come on, Spock, just play straight. Give us some sort of answer here.
T'Pring is like right here next to me, just staring at me.
Some pretty good popcorn you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it.
Yeah. Just
It's his blood. His blood makes him immune to everything and
yes, and
bring the dead back to life.
So he's strong enough to pick up two people with one arm.
I don't think that physics works. But okay.
You know,
Yeah.
we're so professional.
You still got some drool on the corner of your mouth.
Yeah.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah, I know, Squidward. How do you make fun of such a cute puppy? You just can't. She's got those bat ears, though.
He'll grow into them.
Well, that's why we named her T'Pring. And look at those ears.
Who's Simon Phoenix?
Simon
Or
Phoenix.
John's?
Simon
Yeah, Darth is saying... Go ahead.
Simon Phoenix is the bad guy from Demolition Man, played by Wesley Snipes.
Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, something pseudo martial arty.
Yeah, well, you know, Star Trek has got to have that. Don't worry, I think the best pseudo martial arts move in all of Star Trek is waiting for our Star Trek V night.
I love Bones' Wall of Daggers.
Funny enough, Bones' Wall of Daggers is actually the name of a stage play, and that was
here I have all these extremely old medical instruments. I just like to remember the barbarism of medicine.
But you got to admit, Dr. McCoy shows real cojones here. I mean, he knows that Kahn could literally just snap his neck with a thought. Why not the right ear? I'm just saying.
Just flexing on him. You have more than one?
Indy says McCoy's kind of a badass here. I think a little beyond kinda here. McCoy straight up stared Death in the face, and Death was like, whoa.
It's because of all the Kentucky bourbon. Yeah, he's just too staunch to care.
More Star Trek V. And it's Kentucky, it's Tennessee whiskey, actually, I should say, in Star Trek V. And it's actually very thinly veiled Jack Daniels. You can see the label, but he kind of covers it up enough with his hand because they obviously couldn't get the product placement.
Speaking of getting product placement, I heard today that one of the reasons they couldn't do a follow-up to the Elementary Dare Data episode of TNG was because the estate holders for Sherlock Holmes were kind of pissed off at Paramount at the time.
Yes, I heard that too.
Which, I don't know, that's a fun thing. I didn't realize that Sherlock Holmes still had an estate. Like,
well, the Doyle
he's been
estate,
dead for a long time.
Is it the Doyle estate?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't worry. Project Prometheus will take all that out of.
Like, that seems like something a Ferengi would be concerned about. Making sure that even after death, you continue to pay into his deposits so he can get into the Great...
The Great Vault.
What do they call it? Yeah.
And Mike Richards says the right ear is the jugular. Well, I'm not in any way, shape, or form a biologist or know anything about biology. I never took biology. But it seems to me like if you slice someone under the right ear versus the left ear, either one, the person would bleed out. I mean, I'm not an expert, but if you cut someone...
They would. I looked it up. Because I thought the same thing he was thinking. That maybe only the right side had it, but no, it's... You have your external artery and your common carotid artery. Mm-hmm. It's on...
Yeah, so here you go. Have all the classified information on our military technology.
Oh, darn, I got my tapes mixed up. I gave you the classified ones. We still had these from when Uhura got her mind wiped from the Changeling, I guess.
What's the lore behind Ricardo getting the role? I don't know. Except that generally speaking, in Hollywood at the time, when you had an ethnic role like that, Ricardo or any other ethnic actor would just go for it because the casting companies didn't give a crap about being accurate. Yeah, you remember that in 1993? It was right after Bill Clinton got elected, or shortly after he was sworn in. And in 40 countries simultaneously, these superpowered people took over.
I'd say the way he handled that really won him the re-election. But I mean, that explains why he had to launch him off in '96. It was a campaign promise.
Yeah.
Of course, he tried to do it a little too quietly. Then you had to have the cover up with Monica. It was a deal. I wonder what he's actually looking at, that diagram on his view screen.
It's like, here's how to blow up the ship.
Destruct 1 Alpha, is that it?
He was actually watching a Lore Reloaded video.
I like to think that the Enterprise had advanced mood lighting detection. Like whenever something important was happening, it would do the jelly lights right on the eyes. Did you just diss my hair?
Yeah. And he's just telling her, yeah, you know what? Your hair's a mess, girl. I'm going to fix you up. Oh, girlfriend, you got split ends. I need to take you over. Let me wash that mess. Get some conditioner in there. Throw a perm on that.
Now tell me, how much of our movie media has survived in the future? Are you familiar with a movie called 50 Shades?
Perhaps you've heard of my associate, Datu. And what did he pulled out one curl. And he's acting like, yeah, now you look good.
It's just an excuse to pet her. Like he's really going full on creep. I don't think a woman wants to be petted like this. Maybe if you're Ricardo Montalban, but
Montalban. How many of those beers have you had? Wow, look at that
like
fine,
half.
look at that fine spread.
Montalban?
Montalban. Or just be like the girls at Star Trek Day and Ricardo Taliban.
No, you're lying about that.
No, I'm not. Didn't you see when I showed that video?
No, I didn't.
No, it's real. They actually said, oh yeah, they have the actual tunic worn by Ricardo Taliban. We're thinking that they must be related to you somehow.
No. See, if I'm going to get a name wrong, I'm not going to mess it up with a political entity. I'm just going to mispronounce it as everyone heard. I'm going to call him Richard. And don't mind the Satan poster in the background there.
It's Leif Erikson. Gee. Satan.
I'm just saying, there's some striking horns.
Ronaldo monkey butt.
And the fact that I got even as close as Richard, I feel like that's impressive for me. I think it was just last week or something. I'm like, oh, his name started with a U. What was it? Timothy. That was it. It's like, how, Matthew? And that's just the way it works in my brain.
Timothy. Yeah, that starts with a U.
Yeah.
Hey, I think there's a hole in that bust behind her. Oh, well. Don't think she cares.
That girl be thirsty.
Hey, look! She's got the bottle. See?
Yeah. And as you can see, as Kirk said, there's no women captains in Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
Just waitresses, apparently. Mm. And Squidward, the way my brain works is truly frightening. Now, I do truly love this episode. But at the same time, the idea that
you love it because of all the female abuse, I think.
Oh, that must be it. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to say fake things online, so that has to be it. But no, I mean, the idea that someone would be inherently evil just because of their genetics is kind of racist. I think I would know.
Yeah.
But that's what they're doing here with all the eugenic stuff. Like, oh, of course, the second you do any sort of genetic stuff, you instantly go full-on brown shirt.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you trick me with my pronouns?
I consider myself a they.
I see how it is, Kirk. I had no idea that people of the future were so closed-minded. I can't be at the same table with you.
You and your binaries, gender types. Trust is my first movie night. It's everything I dreamed of. Space Seed. Yes, indeed. Well, Tristan, you're in for a great night then, because we got the great Star Trek 2 coming up after this. So, was that Amy?
Yeah, she was bringing me a bowl of popcorn.
Oh, well, tell her I said hi. Or did she?
Michael says hi. He waves. She's gone.
She's like, I don't care. He's just that jerk that keeps pulling you away. Of course, then again, that might be a plus. I don't know.
Amy and I are both very introverted people. We very much like to be around each other, but at the same time, we also enjoy just, like, introverted.
Well, you know, she's always welcome to join us.
I actually have it set up where she could if she wanted to.
Oh, so she just doesn't like us.
Days. Us? No. She likes you just fine.
Yeah, that's the one with the Darth Vader cameo. Yeah, Lancer.
And Kahn, he gaslighted her hard.
Oh, this is rough right here. Yeah.
Go or stay, but do it because you want to.
Well, now he's straight up.
Yeah.
It's like
I said, he goes full on 50 Shades.
Is Kahn a toxic male? Yeah, I think that Kahn would qualify as a toxic male. But you see, unlike in the modern crap, Kahn is an actual toxic male, as opposed to in modern storytelling where just being masculine is toxic. Right.
I mean, she has serious issues.
Right. He literally abuses her into submission.
Yeah.
But
he gets off on it. Look at that smile.
Well, that's what he is, though. He is truly evil. That's what I gotta say. This episode is so... Kahn is one of the most evil villains in all of TOS. And there's your dates right there, 1992 to 1996. He was elected in 1992, huh? But you think about Kahn was a very realistic, abusive male. And portrayed in the 1960s, an era when people thought that, oh yeah, the patriarchy was in full control of the media. But if the patriarchy is so in control of media, why is it that this this hyper masculine character is being portrayed as a negative? And Star Trek is not contrary to what Steve Shives says, Star Trek is not this bleeding liberal show. Because we'll also see when we watch Star Trek V that Star Trek also portrays hippies in a very negative light, so, spoiler alert, we're going to be watching the space hippies.
Wade Eden. But we can see Spock play a bicycle wheel.
No, Spock doesn't play the bicycle wheel. Spock plays the Vulcan harp. The chick that he's with plays a bicycle wheel.
Okay.
That's brutal right there.
Honestly, he talks about your brains are so underdeveloped. I kind of think the people in Star Trek have near photographic memories. Just how quickly they like, oh yes, you told me this once, I instantly retain it. It's not perfect, but it's close.
Well, we can't all be John DeMarcos.
It's true.
But one day, in the 23rd century, we will be. We will.
And every once in a while, you get a genetic throwback like Reg, who we might as well start calling Matthew. He's the Matthew of the universe.
No, Matthew's been created. We now know Matthew's a beluga whale.
Yeah, the lesser of the two whales.
Here's your martial arts magic again. Although he's so strong, why does he need to even do that?
He's got to focus his chi first.
And that should have ripped his head clean off, as strong as Kahn is. Oh, quick, what's his name?
O'Brien's ancestor?
That would be Kyle, and watch for him. He is in Star Trek 2.
Oh.
He's a commander in Star Trek 2. On the Reliant. Now, you see, he should have beamed down, and Kahn could have recognized him instead of Chekhov. So that's Joaquin. That is Joaquin. Remember that name, because Joaquin plays a big part in Star Trek 2, but he somehow changes his physical appearance quite a bit.
Well, age gets the best of all of us.
That's who I was talking about right there. Is that Singh? Remember with Nomad?
Yeah. Let's see if I can get Nomad pulled up quickly enough. Playing. Oh, just another second, I'll have it. Oh, darn it. Yes. That definitely looks very close to the same guy, if it's not the same guy. And yeah, John, I don't know if they're supposed to be the same character, but I think it is the same actor. They knew the Vulcan next pinch before it was cool. I guess Spock learned it from them.
Well, no, they did the double thumb pinch.
Kirk doesn't negotiate with... Well, I'm not sure if I can complete that sentence on YouTube, but he doesn't negotiate with those type of people.
Singh is probably Latino. Must be a Catholic. They were the most fantastic warriors.
John is saying that they were not played by the same actor.
Well, no, I know Joaquin and Joaquin were not the same actor.
Oh, I thought we were still talking Changeling guy. I don't have basic reading comprehension.
Yeah, John, you and Matthew are having two totally different conversations. But I get the feeling that they're supposed to be the same person because Kahn, they both seem to be Kahn's number one guy.
It's okay, John. I made the mistake right along with you. Thankfully, the captain's chair has its own oxygen supply, so I'm doing great. They really yada yada past the "we've captured you all now" moment.
Well, he suffocated them all. Now he's got them.
Yes, but just that Kirk falls, and now here we are sitting. Oh, okay.
See, Kahn is just brutal. Probably more so than just about anybody else that he's they've run into on this show. Just beating people.
Of course. It's been in so many episodes. The medical decompression chamber.
That's labeled decompression.
I mean, I've often wondered why it needs to be human size, but eh.
And Admiral says, are you aware the Gurkhas are Sikh? I don't know who the Gurkhas are or what you're referring to.
Also, I feel like Kirk is dead at this point. Like,
oh yeah,
he's heading for a vacuum, but what are we measuring? Atmospheric units? Percentages?
Well, the last guy might die, but the others won't be watching.
No, but I'm going to cast shade on your decision. Every decision. Until you become addicted to my every word of praise.
Oh, Captain Kirk
Yes,
is impervious to low pressure. Oh, man. Stupid 1960s TV.
Why did I pay for Dish Satellite? Every time there's an ion storm, we lose the picture. Take Spock next. Fine. I call the decompression chamber Vulcan on a balmy afternoon.
Now, this is where having a Vulcan as the next person to go was so the wrong choice, because only Spock can not react.
Hmm. Now, unfortunately, Kirk died at this point because she increased the pressure too quickly, and he got the bends.
Well, Kirk was already dead anyway. But what they did was they put Kirk's mind into a robot body. Okay, right here. Just look at the way Spock does this. This is so perfect. You know, like only Spock would have that reaction.
That's my surprise face. Oh, so.
Okay, everybody, watch Scotty. Keep your eyes on Scotty. This is, you thought McCoy was badass earlier. This is the most badass scene in all of Trek, bar none. Bam! Augment down.
In fact, he stopped to think about it like, yeah, I guess I'll take this guy out first. Well, that's the thing. They're genetically modified to be twice as strong, or no, strong enough to hold two humans with one arm, but they also had a glass jaw.
Well, you can't take a punch from a Scotsman. I mean, come on. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that got killed by Nomad and came back.
The anti-red shirt.
Yeah. He took a lightning bolt from Apollo.
Great episode, but maybe they need to work a little bit on their acting for being thrown around.
No, wait, here comes the greatest stunt doubles in the history of Star Trek right here. So study what Kirk and Kahn look like here, because two completely different people are about to have a fight. Okay, watch. I don't know who these guys are, but they're not Kirk and Kahn.
Usually you cover that up with a couple quick cuts.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
But they really linger on that scene too. Like, I know this is someone different, but who cares?
I mean, wow. yeah,
We're just gonna let you look right at not Kirk's face for like 3-4 seconds. It's cool. It's cool. It's okay. Engineering is full of billy clubs.
Yeah, you didn't. Well, because it's the only. Because if Scotty gets drunk, they all got to pull those out and beat the crap out of him. That's the only way to subdue him. I mean, you saw what Scotty did to the augment, right? You think Kahn's tough? Imagine Scotty on a stupor.
I bet they installed that after Riley was drunk down in engineering.
See, I told you, no shenanigans. The look on this face is like, yeah, I'm going to ring this bell. What do you got a problem with that?
Like the world's tiniest baseball bat.
Exactly, Trace. I have 5 times your strength. Yeah, well, I got a pipe.
Now, technically, Donnie, this isn't a court-martial. This is just a hearing.
Yeah. So, the Milton reference and what Kirk is about to talk to Scotty about is from the epic Paradise Lost.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I was wondering what Milton was.
Yeah, which is a novelization of Lucifer's basically being cast out of heaven. And so the interesting thing is that then if you look carefully in Star Trek II, when Chekhov and Captain Terrell find Kahn's living quarters on Ceti Alpha 5, you'll find that Kahn has a copy of Paradise Lost on the bookshelf, along with the Bible, Moby Dick, and statute regulations.
You know, the important stuff.
Yeah. Sure would. Too bad it's going to blow up in 6 months.
Not bad.
Yeah, John, I think he does have King Lear on there as well. Basically all the material that Star Trek II is based on, which is kind of interesting. And yes, Trace, clearly they need Scotty around whenever there's a fight. Yeah, if Scotty had shown up, in engineering, he would have just one-shot Kahn and it would have been over.
Spock is really looking pleased to be about to punch Kirk right there.
Yeah.
Another space seedish type episode. In the sense that he was literally getting hit by
Seeds in space.
In space. Yep. Andy's saying that's a belaying pin that Kirk beats Kahn with. Is that a...
That's a nautical thing, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's something you use to secure the ropes on an old tall ship.
Give me a tall ship and a star to steer them.
Now, this to me is the perfect storm of Trek. I think this is the best soundtrack. I think that it's got the best uniforms. I love this is like the only time we really get extensive use of phasers in a Star Trek film. I don't know. This is like the Star Trek film for me.
How do you feel about the title of the movie? Do you think it gives too much away?
Well, it's funny. When I was a kid, true story. Now, remember, I am dyslexic. So when I was a kid and I first saw the poster for it, I was like, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Kahn. I have no idea what that's about. And then the commercial first aired, and I heard the announcer go, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Kahn. And I was like, yes! And, but yeah, as soon as I knew it was Kahn, no, I don't think because it doesn't really, you don't really know what's going to happen except that it's like The Empire Strikes Back. Does that give away too much? It's actually pretty descriptive of what happens.
It's just, I don't know. Well, we'll see how quickly Kahn's introduced. Maybe it happens so quick it doesn't matter, but I just imagine if the first moment you saw Kahn, or you figured out Kahn was in the movie, is when you literally had that moment alongside with Chekhov.
Well, the problem is that if you're a fan of Trek, let's say it was called Star Trek II, because the original title of this movie was actually The Undiscovered Country. And so let's say they had stuck with that. So it was Star Trek II, The Undiscovered Country. But then the minute the Reliant shows up and they say, we're at SETI Alpha 6, you'd be like, Kahn! If you're a hardcore fan.
Hopefully you are.
Yeah. This is also the first time they established that it is the 23rd century.
Now, Lancer, how did you know that Vader was going to be Luke's father from the poster of Empire Strikes Back? Oh.
Now notice they completely redressed the bridge here. I mean, it's the same basic components, but they changed the colors, made it a little darker. The uniform's just gorgeous.
The Kobayashi Maru. It was your Vulcan intuition. I see, Lancer. I see.
And of course, since this was our very first exposure to any kind of Starfleet simulator, We had no idea this was fake the first
Yeah.
time we saw this. The only thing that seemed a little off was the fact that we didn't see any external shots. Like, we don't see the Enterprise from the outside. We don't see, any epic shots of the Enterprise going into the neutral zone. We're just seeing it all from inside the bridge, which is a clue. Yeah. It's a directorial, like, Nicholas Meyer does a good job here of setting this up. Because if this wasn't a simulation, then we would see those external shots.
Yeah. Oh no, it's Klingons or Romulans. I'm not sure which yet. Klingons.
Reused footage there from Star Trek The Motion Picture, the Klingon ships, but didn't care.
Oh, surely not. Surely not. That's 100% original. Okay, Sulu. Don't have to go that into a simulation.
Although and an interesting thing they do here, and this is actually another example why Nicholas Meyer is a really good director. And keep in mind, he didn't know jack about Star Trek before making this movie. But notice when she orders to raise the shields, you hear the beeping and you see the dots going up around the ship, and the guy nods at her, and then they say shields are up, right? So that's your indicator of what the shield status means on that screen. So that later, during the Kahn attack, when they feed the information into the Reliance computer and you see the dots going down, you know what's going on. It's them educating you how their computer systems work without telling you. That's good exposition. They're teaching you without telling you. I also like the fact that it's Kirk's 50th birthday, but they never say it's his 50th birthday. You just know that for some reason his birthday is really bothering him. It means you're old. That's what it means. Jordan, it's not the thing about it, and this is the funny thing about a movie like this, is that while yes, this is an action-oriented film, you would qualify this as probably an action movie, but it's not a dumb movie by any stretch. Space Janitor, the movie. Wow, Spock endorses the final solution. Never thought I'd see that.
Unfortunately, Kirk doesn't know history. He thought it had never been tried before. And that's like what you're talking about right there. That Spock's comment, well, surely your birthday is the best of times, but at the same time, it's also the Kirk's feeling kind of the worst of times.
Right. It's the little unsaid things that they do so well in this. Oh, here's a little thing. This is part of the extended stuff here, is McCoy's conversation with Kirk and his description of glasses is extended here.
where Romulans bring. But why is Romulan ale illegal?
Dr. McCoy ain't above breaking the law every now and then. You know, he's got stuff on the Enterprise that'll tranquilize an active volcano.
His pants look like he's wearing a onesie with leggings.
Yep.
I also like that the simulator was the Mark IV simulator.
See how depressed Kirk is about everything about his age.
And we see those glasses again later in Star Trek 4.
Yeah. We also see them later in this movie.
Perhaps with a bit of a continuity issue.
Why?
Maybe I'm misremembering, but don't they get a cracked lens?
Yes. Stop trying to overthink. Stop trying to think about the movie 2 movies from now and just watch this movie.
Okay. I'll bring it up later. Oh, is that true, Lancer? The Mark V comes with row, row, row your boat? Can you just imagine the communication officer? The Romulans are jamming our signal with a song. Row, row, row your boat?
Our first look at a starship that is not a Constitution class. Mind blown when I was in the theater looking at that.
Is this the Miranda class?
Yes, but at the time it was just the Reliant. There wasn't, they never called it the Miranda class. They just called it the USS Reliant.
Now, Mephisis, that sounds reasonable. That Romulan ale is banned because they're in the Cold War with them, kind of like a embargo.
I tend to think of it because Romulan ale is hallucinogenic, and and Dr. McCoy just likes to drugs. Now here's a technical problem. Look behind Chekhov's head on the on the screen there. That's a secondary hull of a Connie, but they're in a Miranda class ship. Why would they have the schematics for the Connie secondary hull there? Oops.
And is that a Romulan or ship?
I don't know what you're thinking about with Romulan, but I think you're smoking crack.
Did you not see it just below?
No, that was just... No, I think you were smoking crack. Yeah, Darth Maul, I tend to agree. It's unfortunate, but the TNG movies just could not hold a candle to these films. Oh, when the Reliant levels up, it'll become a Constitution class like a Pokemon. I mean, the problem here is that this world that we're watching feels like a real world. But in the TNG era, it feels like sets.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Like, that looks like you're on a space station. It doesn't look like you're on a set. When you're on these ships, they feel like you're on a ship. You feel claustrophobic, like there's nowhere to go, you know, and which is a good thing. Notice those are the same spacesuits as we saw in the last movie. The Kirk and
Yes.
they reused everything they could. And the budget for this movie was microscopic.
Is it because TMP had issues or for other reasons?
No, well, the problem was TMP did okay. Keeping in mind that we're talking about late 70s, early 80s here, TMP made a profit, but not a huge profit. And so with Star Trek II, the Paramount was like, yeah, you know, for the amount of money we made, it just wasn't worth the investment. So we don't want to spend a ton. And they just didn't want to spend the kind of money they spent on TMP. So they gave Nicholas Meyer a shoestring budget. And Nicholas Meyer is one of those directors that knows how to work with very little. And so he reused everything he could, including, as you can see, the spacesuits. You know, in fact, the Reliant Bridge and the Enterprise Bridge are the same set, just moved around and redressed a little bit. They did a lot of trickery like that. And Trustin's got to go to bed. All right, buddy, have a good one.
1:30. Are you in the middle of the Atlantic?
Yeah, he's literally swimming in the ocean. That's where he is.
Well, obviously, I was thinking some island around there, but I mean, because London isn't it later in London?
Anyway,
I didn't mean to throw you off that much.
you're just here in the middle of the Atlantic. I think, if I remember correctly, Trustin is in the. Oh, there's your books right there. Yeah,
Inferno.
yeah.
Yeah.
Statute Regulations is the biggest book there on the. But no, I believe Trustin is in the furthest eastern part of Canada, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I could
We
be
gotta get out of it right now, but we can't be beamed out. That'd be too convenient.
Yeah, they're boned.
Tuscan Raiders.
Azro.
Okay, there you go, Kyle.
Yeah, that's Kyle. So now he's a commander and he's the comms officer on the Reliant. Yeah, John, do I sense a movie night with Matthew question for next week coming on? Who I've never met before.
You're lucky I was having digestive issues and was spent the whole weekend in,
Well, it's
the
like,
bathroom.
listen to the fluctuation in Kahn's voice here when he says he recognizes Chekhov. And think about the fact that he blocked up the toilet. But you, you're the reason.
Have you never heard of a courtesy flush?
Oh, it's woke. Look at all the chicks.
You know, Kirk was kind of a jerk for putting them on this planet. There are surely plenty of other...
He gave them a choice.
Yeah, but like, hey, I'm going to put you on like a Class L planet, barely Class M. Even though I could technically find an uninhabited Class M planet that you could set up on to conquer.
What are you talking about? SETI Alpha 5 was Class M.
Barely.
What do you mean barely?
Kirk made a comment about it.
He said it was somewhat inhospitable, but it wasn't like it was not like what it is now.
Well, yeah, definitely not like it is now. Now it's solidly Class L.
So this is where Kahn's about to explain it here. Did they cast Kahn a son? I'm not sure what you mean. Joseph said, yeah, he said no more inhospitable than Australia was to the people who colonized it. How does a planet explode? Well, perhaps the Vulcans were experimenting with red matter in the area.
Secondary question. If City Alpha 6 exploded, why would you think that City Alpha 5 is City Alpha 6?
Simple.
Like, is there another planet somewhere closer
No.
to the sun now?
It makes sense to me. But here's what I think happened is that, because notice Kahn said that when SETI Alpha 6 exploded, the shock shifted the orbit of SETI Alpha 5. So I think what they think is that SETI Alpha 5 exploded, and that was SETI Alpha 6. So they figured Kahn was dead because SETI Alpha 5 exploded.
But if City Alpha 6 exploded, it should have been pushed closer to the sun. Didn't it? I mean, maybe
I
they're
don't
on
know.
opposite sides of the sun.
Yeah, depending on how it happened, just saying. They could have made a mistake. Kirk, blew it on that, but,
And see, maybe
what
happened here...
Okay, this was... I don't know what happened there. That was not intentional.
Wait, what?
Well, it said short feature for a second. That was not intentional. I apologize.
Okay.
Hopefully that doesn't... I hope there's no more glitches like that, because if there are, that's not my intent.
Maybe what happened here is that someone couldn't read Roman numerals. And they mistook 4 for 6. So they thought they were saying City Alpha 4 exploded. And that would make sense. If City Alpha 4 exploded and you think you're going to City Alpha 4 and you end up on 5, okay. Oh, these creatures.
Yeah, I was thinking about trying to use those for the thumbnail, but I couldn't figure out a good way to do it. Maybe SETI Alpha 6 was overmined by the Klingons. There you go. So Trey says, as a kid, had a lot of ear infections, and the scene freaked me out. I'll tell you, when you had ear infections, were you extremely susceptible to suggestion? Man, I'll tell you, if my sister had a lot of ear infections, every time she had an ear infection, I would have said, now you will do this. You know, I would have tried it.
I mean, you just know that's happening here is that it is rupturing their eardrum. That's going to be painful.
You know what that is, though, crawling on them?
What?
That's literally, it was just a piece of foam that they cut into pieces and pulled with a thread. That's all it was. And they dipped in like a slimy substance. And it looks so creepy.
Yes, mission accomplished.
Hey, Daniel. Here are the glasses. Some more.
That would have been a great.
See, here's some more reused footage from the motion picture.
Yeah, the Verizon ad. Can you hear me now? Also, that would have been a great moment for Kahn to go, no, tell me where I can find Admiral Kirk. And just the pure disdain
By the way,
from his voice.
Listen carefully to Sulu here. Notice that he doesn't sound like he's finished with his line. Right here.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Because
even his mouth.
Right. The reason is that, and unfortunately, it's a cut sequence of dialogue, but there's a piece of dialogue. The audio exists. You can find it on YouTube. The audio exists, but the video doesn't exist that I know of, where he actually talks about how his next assignment after this training voyage is going to be to take over the Excelsior.
Oh. Lose the bottle opener.
And Daniel wants to know if I'm excited for a Star Trek IV Kelvin verse. No, I am not. I'm done with the Kelvin verse. I do not care. Okay.
Oh, it's like watching Nog.
Did you hear what he called himself?
Engineer's assistant.
No.
Chief engineer's assistant.
Before that. What was his rank?
Was it an ensign?
Nope. It was midshipman first class. Midshipman first class is the correct term for a cadet serving on an active ship.
Oh.
That's why Cadet Tilly makes no sense. She should be midshipman, not cadet.
It's almost like they actually cared about.
Oh yeah, they did their research here. Okay, here comes the scene where we learn about Peter Preston.
I'm sure this room won't have any importance later. That's a good friend for you. You've just insulted everyone. At least say sir.
But did you catch the relationship?
Yes, my sister's youngest.
Yeah, so that is Scotty's nephew. Yeah, I know. It's amazing, Daniel. This movie is 40 years old, and it still looks so freaking good. Again, this is all reused footage from Star Trek The Motion Picture, but you wouldn't know it. They reused a ton of visual effects shots, which saved them a ton of money in the budget, which is how they were able to make it on a shoestring. Because really, for the Enterprise, the new stuff is mostly the battle footage.
Mm-hmm. You know, this is one of the benefits of shooting movies on actual film.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a difficult process to upgrade it to the latest and greatest digital quality.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have those originals. I'm not about to let you do it today. You can sit in the captain's chair then.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I know Kirk gets all nervous, but it's not like she's literally taking the helm. Sulu is flying the ship. I don't know what he's nervous about. It's not like Sulu's going to fly it right into the pylon since she's in command.
Well, she said after thrusters, I guess I gotta fly it into the space station now.
And it's like, and McCoy's offering him a tranquilizer. McCoy is just a drug pusher. And Trace, film will degrade over time, but it depends on, you can store it in ways to keep its shelf life almost indefinitely. But you need to keep it, store it in zero light. Which is how, that's why, like, when they talk about the vault, storing films in vaults, they literally mean it. That it's stored in vaults with zero light, usually with zero atmosphere, to try and prevent it from degrading.
And that's also why they keep it in the those flat cans, just as much as you can do to protect it.
I can't wait to see the 4K restoration of TMP next year.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wish they wouldn't bother making any tweaks. Just scan it in and release it.
Hey, Cinnabon, you chicken. And yes, more ship porn. Although, notice, that is actually a shot from the end of Star Trek The Motion Picture. But it's just this music, man. James Horner's soundtrack here. Another shot from Star Trek The Motion Picture. No, I called you a chicken cinnamon because, you know, of your lack of performance there for Jeopardy.
You know, she basically took them out of space dock the same way that Riker reconnected the saucer section to the main section and encounter at Farpoint.
She what?
She took the Enterprise out of space dock the same way that Riker reconnected the two sections.
Yeah, she just told someone else to do it, yeah. Oh, by the way, for all you people that think that Starfleet is not the military, please pay attention. The military?
The what?
The military? What?
Impossible. Cinnabon. Starfleet is not the military, it's Gene's vision. Yes.
That's why Gene Roddenberry hated this movie. He really hated the fact that this movie portrays Starfleet as the military. How is that regulation? That's like one step away from porn star.
What, a hairstyle?
Well, combined with what she's wearing, how is that? That's not a Starfleet uniform. That's like a bathrobe.
Oh, she just came from the exercise deck. Sir, she was involved in the height of martial arts.
What is that called again?
Ambu Jitsu?
No. I can't believe you remembered that.
It's all luck of the draw with these neurons. I mean, Ambu Jitsu, that sticks. Whatever her name, I got nothing. I don't know. Something with an S. Savek? Sarek?
Savick.
Savik, there we go. Who has been holding up the elevator? And that's true, Cinnabon. It should have been the turbo lift or something.
Well, but Dr. McCoy would say something like elevator. You know, that just seems like one of those scenes that'll be so fun to edit some other thing there on the screen. Like Kirk's talking to. The military?
Starfleet has cut peace for 100 years.
Well, all the way back to when Archer almost blew everything.
Okay, I'm part of us. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I know.
What are you, 5? Just tell me.
But I'm almost done with my Idic collection.
I do love that infinity mirror, though.
I know, I tried to find one of those online. I just couldn't find one that was the same shape and everything as that.
Yeah, you basically got to make them yourself.
Yeah, I'd ask you to help, but, you know, nomad.
I'm just a deadbeat bum.
And yes, Donnie, that scene did have a couple of different takes in the... You'll see that a few times where there's some different takes than in the theatrical release.
Unlike that Decker guy who had a chip on his shoulder. I don't care if you take over.
Now, right here, when Spock says that is wise, I was so tempted to pause it right there and flash on the screen the Vulcans are dicks, but I didn't do it only because this is Star Trek 2. But just for the record, Vulcans are dicks. Decker is in seventh heaven now, yeah. Along with Jillian.
So it's basically a ship full of cadets.
Mostly, yeah.
With senior staff overseeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we're supposed to get with the Valiant from DS9.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the senior staff died off, and it was just the cadets making tremendously bad choices.
Yeah. So that's Joaquin there talking to Kahn. See, he's kind of changed his look.
He's aged remarkably.
Well, he does need to defeat him again. That's kind of the whole point of Kahn. He's obsessed.
I do love this quote, though.
The interesting thing is the multiple layers of metaphor that this movie entails.
Mm-hmm.
So Kahn, a lot of people see the Moby Dick thing.
Sure.
Mainly because
surface level.
Yeah, well, Kahn quotes Moby Dick quite a bit in the movie, like he just did. But it's not because the movie is a parallel to Moby Dick. It's not. Kahn sees himself as Captain Ahab, and so that's Kahn's internal vision. However, the movie itself is actually a parallel to Paradise Lost, and Kahn is Satan rising from hell, SETI Alpha 5, to attempt to avenge himself on God, to wage his war in heaven against God, Kirk. And God's son, Spock, would sacrifice himself to save everyone.
But he raises from the dead later.
Yep. Now here we go with the first complete CG scene in cinema history. The Genesis scene. This is another scene. Their discussion on the moral implications of Genesis is slightly different here than in the theatrical release as well.
It's amazing that they just gave up this technology. that no one ever pursued the Genesis tech ever again.
Yeah, I know. You'd think that by TNG era, they'd be using Genesis devices all over the place.
At the very least, you'd think there would be an episode where the villain of the week had gotten a hold of the Genesis technology and was going to blow up some colony.
Mm-hmm.
True trace, much like the mushroom drive. Let's see. Lancer's saying, don't forget the Dominion did use it, alter it, and plan to use it for supernovaing stars to take out Federation bases and fleets. Yeah, I don't recall that. I am watching through DS9 again. I'm at the early part of season 7 these days.
Oh, so you're getting into the Pa Wraith storyline, your favorite part.
Pa Wraiths. What a crap storyline. Cisco's a deity. His mom was possessed and effectively by the father. And John's saying the Dominion also used the protomatter bomb in the bomb that was supposed to blow up the Bajoran sun. You know, I was thinking about the Dominion War. I know some people have been upset that the season finale of Lower Decks didn't wrap up the Pakled plotline.
I was kind of surprised.
Can you imagine if people reacted that way about the Dominion plotline? Like, oh. It's season 3. Why didn't they wrap up the thing with Quark and the Dominion? Like, or, oh, can you imagine the Dominion War is not wrapped up after season 5?
But I was a little surprised that they didn't wrap it up, but then I kind of like the way that it ended because obviously they're going for something bigger.
Uh-huh.
Here we go.
Chris, I agree. I think they're going to revisit it in season 3.
What?
And I think that's fine.
The Paklids?
Yeah.
Well, obviously they're getting they arrested her for blowing up Planet Pakled.
And honestly, they basically did wrap up the Pakled plotline. They showed us that it was actually the Klingons pulling the string, and now the Pakled home planet is destroyed. The Pakled plotline has technically been resolved.
Not necessarily. Well, you're assuming that's the only Pakled planet.
True. I was saying, like, if they didn't really look at them in the future and instead shifted to the Klingons, I wouldn't feel like, wait, what about the Paklids? Why aren't we talking about them anymore? It'd be like, well, because we've done everything that needs to be done narratively with them at this point. Maybe they do something else with them, but I don't really care if they don't at this point.
Right.
I'd be more concerned if they didn't do anything with the Klingons at this point.
Ah, Kirk, my old friend. But you know what I want to know, Kahn? How do you know the old Klingon proverb?
It was in the Statutes and Regulations book. Right up there with Never Trust a Ferengi. Do you know Ferengis by this point, or did we... I mean, I know narratively we first met them. Or not narrative. I know that we first met them in TNG, but I can't remember if they said the Federation had dealings with them before TNG.
Well, they did make an appearance in Enterprise, but they were never identified.
That's true. Neelix.
Neelix?
Neelix was one of the Ferengi in Enterprise.
Oh.
Pew, 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 pew.
Really?
Sorry. What do you want? Oh, Trace is saying he was also a Ferengi in TNG. I had forgotten that. Or didn't realize that. One of the two.
See, there's Peter right there. He was pulling that guy through the door.
Geordi doing the roll underneath the door.
Yeah, it's much more dramatic. When it looks, because
unlike
unlike Geordi casually doing a roll under the door, that looked like a ship that was sinking, and people desperately trying to survive. Where Geordi looked like he was doing calisthenics.
And there we see why the Miranda class has the picture of the Constitution secondary hull.
No, we don't. That doesn't make any sense that they would have that picture there.
Because they reused it.
Well, I know. Well, yeah.
In universe, it doesn't make sense. But
right.
There you go. They just said, close enough is good enough.
Yeah.
Who's going to notice?
Nerds. Now, fun fact there is, like Darren Wagner talked about this, the fact that when Scotty said what he had left was just the battery, was actually another great line for people that understand nautical terms. If you're on a submarine and all you have left is the battery, you are screwed. Mm-hmm. Because that means like on a nuclear powered sub, that means your nuclear reactor is offline, your diesel engine backup is offline, all you have left is the battery, which means you can stay alive for a brief amount of time and then you're dead.
Can you imagine if Kirk was just like, do I know you? He's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I know Neelix was a Talaxian, but I'm just letting Matthew, I know he means the Ethan Phillips, but I'll just,
Like I'm going to remember Ethan, whatever you just said, name is.
Oh, is that called the LaForge maneuver, the calisthenics under the door? Okay.
Yes, it is. He did it at a comic convention. It was great.
Well, yeah, obviously Kirk left Kahn with a copy of statute regulations, Paradise Lost, the Bible, and Moby Dick.
Which is kind of rude of him, to be honest. Like, he could have put almost every single media that we had at that point on a single disc.
Yeah.
With a single computer. But instead he's like, nah, here's 5 books you get for all eternity.
Mm-hmm. To share with your 70 friends.
I wish Spock was just like nodding the whole time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Sure thing, boss.
Like at some point, Kirk would be like, okay, you can stop.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Spock would be much more literal.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. He's pretty smart, but I can see Spock being that sassy.
Mm-hmm. That would be another Vulcans are dicks moment if he did. Oh, here's another great glasses moment. 16309. Wonder if that'll come up next week, John.
I've already forgotten it.
Just saying, that might be a good one.
I should take the view screen right there and do one of my green screens for it. Like I've learned a lot about how quickly I can grab a view screen like that, and that was a great shot.
You know, if Kirk says something like that, you know you are so in trouble. And see, there's the payoff for that setup earlier. As soon as you see those dots going down, you know, oh, here he goes.
He was a pretty good actor, you know?
Mm-hmm. And bam!
Oh no, the bridge!
Right into impulse. Seeing again with talking about his age.
Hey, Trek Yards, how you doing?
Hey, Captain. We're just hanging out watching one of the greatest movies of all time and the greatest Star Trek film of all time.
John's saying continuity from TMP. The warp drive is damaged, so they can't fire phasers, since we learned that in the refit, the phasers get power from the warp. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And notice, he said the photon control, so the torpedoes are out, and the warp drive, meaning the phasers are out. So the Reliant has no weapons. That's why Joaquin was saying we got to pull out. And so even though the Enterprise is more badly damaged, the Enterprise at least has phasers. So the Reliant, though, has no weapons at all. So pull back, get your systems back on, and then go back and take out the Enterprise. So Joaquin was 100% right. And Peter's dead.
Oh, gosh. Just think about like your own nephew dying right there. It really gets you.
But doesn't that hit a little bit harder knowing now who he was?
Yeah. Way to go, Bones. You messed up the line. It's, I'm sorry, Jim. He's dead. Oof, what a scene.
See, and that was cut out.
I mean, the professionalism of Kirk being both compassionate, but at the same time, I need you to do your job. the professionalism of Scotty to go do his job, and at the same time the respect for McCoy for doing everything he could. Just excellent throughout.
And that was cut. And I like that line. That was cut out of the theatrical release, too. They were only live because... And there's the upside-down space station from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Again, great budget cut. You know, so that's the same space station. They just flipped it over.
John saying, keep an eye on the position of the bloodstain on Kirk's uniform.
Yeah, the continuity on that is less than perfect. I've always liked that shot of the Enterprise slowing down there for some reason.
So Trekyards, I have seen this before. I haven't seen the director's cut before, but it's been about 20 years since the last time I watched any of the original Star Trek movies.
Now, interesting. This is actually an interesting fact about the movie. So in the original script, Spock was dead. Spock died in
At this point?
Yes. Spock died in the initial attack by Kahn. And so because of the leaks on that he died, they rearranged things so that he died at the end of the movie instead of then. So notice that at this point, Spock does nothing. Notice that if this were written with Spock in mind, do you really think it would be Saavik with them right now?
Okay.
You know, so...
Yeah, I know, Foley. I need to turn in my nerd card. It's just... It's not that I've been avoiding them. It's just... There's always something else to be doing, you know?
He has been avoiding them. In fact, Catherine Foley, he said to me that how much he hates Star Trek.
Hey! Way to throw me into the bus.
Just tell him the truth.
I told you that in confidence.
No,
and
look.
after having one drink too many.
There's you in that jacket.
Snazzy jacket.
I do like those field jackets because they also look like something you would wear on an away mission. It's unfortunate that we don't really see them ever again, you know, because they work really well. As someone who was, when I was in the Army, field jackets are something that should be heavy like that.
I wonder if Pinterest has that jacket.
Oh, I'm sure somebody makes them.
Or not Pinterest, Etsy. Etsy, that's the place where you can buy things. Is he dead? Is he dead?
He's not going to say it.
Let's see. I see the Wrath of Khan, Delta insignia, and the whole uniform, but I'm not seeing that snazzy jacket.
Be called a field jacket.
You're assuming people on Etsy
watch Saavik here. Watch her. She was not expecting Kirk to break the glass.
Nice.
But that goes back
and
to
also,
the uniforms.
It looked like she It looked like she kind of did an off the screen look, like trying to get directions from a stagehand or something.
Right, like she realized she screwed up and she was looking for direction. But they were just like, yeah, keep going, you know. So, but they did a great job in what they were trying to do, and they did very well, was the uniforms were designed to look like garrison uniforms, and the field jackets are designed to look like real military field jackets. They tried their very best to make it feel like this was the real Space Navy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that this wasn't people dressing up in costumes. And I even like the fact that, like, you know, you notice that the way that people do it, like they unbutton the tunic a little bit there just to be a little more comfortable, just like people will loosen their necktie or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's something you might have seen in a naval outfit from like the 1800s or something.
Right.
An actual wooden boat navy.
We should have killed him. I mean, yeah.
So why is Chekhov like just suddenly okay at this point?
He's not.
I mean, like, it seems like at this point he's no longer quite as suggest. Oh wait, never mind.
Stage 2 have shut up. Like, look at Kahn. He's like, oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll be back in just a minute. I need to Jaloja real quick.
Okay. And yes, Joseph, some memories are creeping back in. That's why I shut up. And for anyone interested, I did eventually find what looks like to be the field jacket on yourprops.com. I don't know. It doesn't look like you can actually buy it. It just looks like they're showing you that it exists and how you might make it yourself. But at least it's a start, something to think about. And amazingly, I don't think they did a better job with the transporters. Like, it seems almost like a step backwards from the transporters we had back in TOS. And that's true, Trace. The turtlenecks do match the collar of the field coats, which it is a nice touch. And if you go to Etsy, there's so many good Star Trek things you can buy to get that whatever version of Trek you enjoy. You can find an outfit for that Trek, which unfortunately even includes Discovery. And a swimsuit? I didn't expect to find a Star Trek swimsuit on here. But why not? Dun dun dun. Yeah, Trace. It must be the regulation Starfleet swimsuit. Dang. Those phasers are like Klingon kill. They even have a Wesley Crusher sweatshirt for some reason. Like a lot of these make sense. Like you have your mirror universe, you have your classic Kirk shirt. Even the bikini I can halfway understand. But then you just have crazy things like silk pajamas.
So just to make sure I'm understanding this, Paul Winfield is getting brutally killed, and you're talking about silk pajamas
and bikinis. Yeah. And John, thank you for catching those so quickly.
Oh, we got another. Oh, gotta love those. Yes, thank you, John. Man, those people. That's the second one today. I just. And yeah. So, but I do have my official giant ice cube or ice ball.
It's quite the ice cube.
Well, you can't really enjoy your Saurian brandy without having it on the rock.
I really enjoy the ice stones. That way you can chill your whiskey without diluting it at all.
I see, that doesn't bother me.
It does me. I prefer my whiskey to have zero watering down.
Now, here's an interesting conversation to have with your friends. So, oh, by the way, look familiar? That's the, right, here's where I did the screen grab to put your face on Kirk's body. But here's a fun fact. So Kirk is about to yell Kahn, right?
Right.
Okay.
Very famous line.
Yes. And people always talk about William Shatner's hammy acting and use that line to cite as an example.
But even I know the purpose of this line within the movie.
Yes, that Captain Kirk is actually pulling a deception.
Yeah.
That he just had the conversation with Spock. So he knows full well that the plan is that in 2 hours, the Enterprise is going to beam him and his crew back, and they're going to go whoop Khan's butt. And so that whole thing was just for Kahn to hear.
Yeah. Like, Kirk hammed it up for Kahn.
Yeah. Now, granted, McCoy wasn't paying very good attention there because he didn't quite.
That's one of the nice things. Like, Spock understood Kirk's messages.
Right. You'd think Savick would have figured it out, but, you know. Guess she's kind of stupid for a Vulcan.
That's true, Captain. The new transporters do allow people to move and talk while beaming. I'm not entirely opposed to it. Like, it makes sense that beaming technology advances over the...
Yeah, but at which point do you die? I mean, like, at what point is it no longer you and it's actually the other person? You know, the person who's replaced.
I do have issue with the moving and talking in, like, JJ transporters.
Why? Because it's so quick?
Because it is so dynamic. So, like, you can be in motion and still be beamed.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree, Turd Ferguson. I don't think that water brings whiskey back to life. I think it just cuts the taste.
Well, that's because, see, Matthew doesn't believe in spending more than $3 for a gallon of whiskey, so he doesn't understand what real flavor is. So,
I do love me some Maker's Mark whiskey, which
you just like it because you think it's Christian whiskey.
How is that Christian whiskey? How is... No, I'm sorry. My brain's shutting down at this point. How is any whiskey Christian?
Because you've got your Maker's Mark.
Oh. Well played, sir.
See? And just like Jesus, it's cheap. Because it's a free gift.
Affordable to everyone, yes. Yes, I see where you're going with this. It may take me a while to get up to speed, but once I am up to speed, my momentum keeps me going.
Wow, Captain Foley, I'm not even going to touch that one. That's the...
Oh, I see. The first word's supposed to be if. A little less sacrilegious, and yet still sacrilegious?
Yeah. See, like, people scream about the Kahn thing, but, like, here, Kirk is being so subdued and really just being vulnerable and dealing with his hurt, you know, about dealing with both Kahn and the fact that his son hates him and all that.
That's true, Trek Yards. In TOS, there was a force field to hold you in place. And I kind of like that aesthetic it gave. Like, it's impressive that technology has gone to the point that you can do the overlay effects with keyframing and people be in motion. But honestly, I like the effect of just you're locked in place and transported somewhere.
And it makes it more clear when you die.
There's that, yeah.
Look at the size of that clock. Because, you know, clocks look like that waterfall thing.
Do they?
You've never seen one of those clocks that looks like...
I've seen in grandfather's clock that have a little bit more of a swing to them, but...
No, not a... Never mind.
I've seen the Japanese clocks. You know, they slam
them on the ground. You've never seen like one of those waterfall... Not, like that waterfall right there with the fake light behind it. You've never seen a clock that had a waterfall effect like that?
No, no, never. I'll look it up here. Let's see. Clock. Are the L's in there? Yes, clock. Ball.
I do like this conversation a lot too, John. Unfortunately, they didn't quite do it justice in Star Trek 2009. Turd says they don't sell them on Wish, so he doesn't know. You're probably right. See, like McCoy's like, oh, I should have known. Dang it. And the CinemaSin says, just have him eating an apple, you'll look even more like an a-hole. You know?
It works for that scene, though.
Yeah, it
He
does.
really is doing it.
Indy Tiger said, my grandmother had the light with the waterfall effect. Well, good. Somebody knows what I'm talking about.
Someone's going to have to drop me a link. I don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, come on, Kirk. Spock's response, I couldn't care less, sir. That young man's my son. I mean, fascinating. That's true, Trace. Vulcans are jerks.
Yeah. Oh, Mutara restricted.
So they're talking about how the other ship can outrun and outgun them.
Yes.
Is that because they're damaged, or because at this point the Enterprise is going to be an old ship?
No,
it's been
it's a common. Yeah,
still.
it's a common. You notice he said they can still outrun us and outgun us. So you have a couple of factors. Yeah, the Miranda class is already a more powerful ship than the Constitution, but the Enterprise was more severely damaged than the Reliant in the first place. So I think it's a combination of both. So even if all things, like for example, the Miranda, the Reliant has shields, the Enterprise does not. Right, because
True.
The
only reason they got them down was because of the security code prefix,
and so there's no way they could not take them on head to head right now. But going into the nebula equalizes things because that negates their shields.
I do like that one of the recurring ideas going on here is that Kirk is really finding advantages through his superior knowledge of the ships.
Right.
Rather than having a tactical superiority.
Well, and Kirk is also depending on his crew, where Kahn is depending on himself.
Explain it to them
with a photon torpedo.
Okay.
They should have
message loud and clear.
Yeah. There was a note on that torpedo saying, "Please don't go in the nebula. Sincerely, Kahn."
Meanwhile,
golly gee,
the polo team, coming in with his sweater around his neck.
I say, this is quite the little starship you have there, Dad.
Come on. I know we're getting into the 80s, but sheesh.
Here it is. Now, you know, what Kirk should have done is just beam Scotty over to the Reliant. He would have beat the crap out of all of them.
True. So is that guy, was he supposed to be Kahn's son, do you think?
No, it's Joaquin.
I know, it's just the way they had them interact. I kind of wonder if that was supposed to be.
No, it's just his best bro.
And he looks so much younger than Kahn.
Because think about it. It's been 14 years. If Joaquin was 14 years old, sure.
Fair enough.
That's true, Trace. Give Scotty a fifth of whiskey and then beam him over to the Reliant, it would be over in minutes. And in fact, here's what you do. You give Scotty a fifth of whiskey, hand him a picture of Peter, and then beam him over.
Laddie, you thought a woman scorned had fury.
By the way, a really cool thing is like the Mutara Nebula effect here is literally just like food coloring in a fish tank.
That's true, John. Scotty is the only thing holding the Enterprise together.
Oops.
A fifth of whiskey, a box of tribbles, and the Miracle Crow. I have devil horns. Oh yeah, I kind of do have devil horns on the back of my chair. It's a headrest, but yeah, that kind of does.
It's a headrest. You know, the Satan's horns are Matthew's headrest.
I try and get to a better position. Really emphasize those horns.
Isn't that like Proverbs 17:20? Satan's horns are Matthew's headrest. See, notice, Kahn is, it's kind of interesting. If you look at the strategy of the two, Kahn, and Trace, I think best soundtrack of a sci-fi movie, period. I love this soundtrack. It goes with the action so perfectly. I can just sit back and listen to the soundtrack, and every scene just rolls through my head. Yeah, if only Rutherford were there. So, there goes Joaquin. Now, what was I? Oh, shoot, no, I forgot what I was going to say. What is Proverbs 4:20? Something about planting a garden and relaxing, I think.
Watch it be one of those like really weird proverbs, like it's better to spill your seed on the floor than the belly of a whore or something like that.
What?
that is a,
now I gotta look. Okay.
I'm pulling it up right now. I'm just saying, like let's see. My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ears to my word. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart. They are life to those who find them, and health to one's body. Keep your mouth free from perversity. Failed that one just a second ago. It's just talking about the importance of keeping the scripture within your mind and how it's a good thing. But yeah, there's literally I believe it's a proverb that talks about how, anyway, maybe not. There's some Bible verses out there like that.
Anyway, what I was going to say is, you notice the strategy here. So Kahn overthinks things. So he studied the technical manuals of these ships, and he keeps trying to go for the critical systems. Like the first strike, he went straight for engineering. He was targeting the torpedo rooms. He was basically trying to take out critical systems on the Enterprise, right? Kirk, he's just constantly going for the kill shot. He targets the bridge every time.
Okay.
You know, Kirk, and so Kirk is smart. He's just like, no, we just want the kill. I'm not interested in, finesse here. Let's just take him out.
I do love the way that time and time again you're seeing that Kirk comes up right behind Kahn. Like, even though they both have no sensors right now.
Right.
It's a lot like Balance of Terror, in that Kirk just innately understands how to do this.
Right. Yeah, I guess they ain't using warp drive anymore. Yeah, I agree with you. Kahn is romanticizing the battle while Kirk just knows he needs a kill shot. I agree. Kirk's not interested in the romance of battle. He's just interested in winning.
What's the point of using Queensberry's rules? Kick him where it hurts. The point is to be the one standing when the fight's over.
Right. I remember how grotesque I thought this was when I was a kid. This is amazing to be in a PG-rated movie back then. I mean, for 1982, this in a PG movie, I was shocked when I was a kid. How mangled he is and everything. And granted, a lot of it is just Ricardo selling it, because it's not like they chopped off his fingers. He's just sitting there like this. But
True.
He's selling it really well.
He's just not one of those people you would think would have this level of acting abilities. Mm-hmm. Like, when you think about what he's done,
yeah,
you obviously have Wrath of Khan, you have Space Seed, and you have Fantasy Island. And it's like, this is not high quality.
And John, you're so right. This tough ship, nacelle blown off, all the other damage and Reliance still going. The Enterprise D would have had a warp core breach. Yeah, well, the Enterprise D would have had a warp core breach on the first hit. And Star Trek. The thing about Star Trek is gore isn't the norm. But Kahn, and that's the thing, like, even when we were talking about Space Seed earlier tonight, Kahn was the most brutal villain of the original series. Mm-hmm. The way that he treated Marla MacGyvers was absolutely, I mean, it's harsh to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Even now. And so, yeah. And
like, it's easier to watch a movie like The Matrix, where Trinity gets beat up by a guy,
right.
But it's martial arts, and so there's something okay about that, where she doesn't fight a guy, she gets straight up abused by a guy,
right, and believably so. Like you get he was in control of her,
mm-hmm.
And so yeah, at least no one's had been exploded by phaser fire. But the thing is that, like, in Space Seed, it's it's not the gore, it's the abuse that gets you. It's the fact that she was violated and you feel it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
yet,
honestly, that felt worse than what happened to anything with Deanna Troi throughout TNG.
right.
Like even with the whole Remus nonsense that happened in Nemesis.
Yeah. Where's Rutherford? Don't take the gloves, Spock. Rutherford needs them. Man, that guy's headache just won't quit.
Radiation. And, we were talking about how Kahn is really romanticizing himself in the battle. Even his comment right there, "To the last I grapple with thee."
Yeah, he's still romanticizing.
Which is a quote from Moby Dick. He is very much romanticizing himself. Because Herman Melville wrote the character of Ahab as this romantic figure. His journey was tragic.
And Kahn sees
really
himself
wasn't.
as a tragic story.
Yeah, like at any point, Ahab could have just walked away. Like, it wasn't tragic. It was Ahab being an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Ahab had been this character, we're like, oh, I really want to step down, but I need to get this well because this is the only thing that's going to allow my crew to make that payday and survive. But no, he just had a revenge against the whale. Back when they thought whales were bloodthirsty creatures and would definitely bite your leg off.
No, that's how you feel about them.
No, dolphins. I feel that way about dolphins.
Oh, I thought you felt that way about all sea mammals.
No, most of them are okay. Dolphins, they'll get you. They will get you. They'll go straight up con on a woman.
And yes, it's obvious that Matthew is a racist, but,
Speciesist, I think, against dolphins. And here we go with more of the Melville quote.
Yeah. The funny thing is that, of course, Kahn. Yeah, you always wonder, did Kahn see the Enterprise warp away just before the explosion? Like I saw someone posted a YouTube video where Kahn sees the Enterprise warp away, and they cut back to Khan's face going like, ah, and then of course the explosion.
Yeah. You kind of hope that he didn't. Like, that's the more romantic end for Kahn. To think that he achieved his victory.
Really? You were rooting for Kahn there, huh?
Well, Kahn is his own hero. He's, in Kahn's opinion, he would be the hero of this movie. And he definitely has a romantic view of everything that's going on. And so you can't help but hope that he finishes out what he sees as a romantic tragedy.
And Trey says you've been scarred by beluga whales trying to seduce him into skinny dipping with him. Well, no, Matthew is a beluga whale. What you're seeing is just a projection of a humanoid character. I love the novelization here. In the novelization, it says when McCoy says better get down here, and then Kirk looks at the science station and sees that Spock's not there. It says, and for the first time in his life, James T. Kirk knew the meaning of the word fear. And it was like, hey!
And I also like how this scene is kind of Kirk
What's with the guy like inappropriately at Kirk's midsection there? That's just kind of. I mean, it's like
this scene.
Dude, really? Get kind of move. That's. Kirk puts his hand on his shoulder. Yeah, that's good, man. I'm fine, thanks.
This scene is Kirk coming face to face finally with the no-win scenario.
Right.
Which, I mean, obviously it's kind of silly to be like, well, Kirk has never come face to face with death. And it's like, yes, he has. Don't be ridiculous.
But not like losing someone he truly cares about. I mean, like, he always feels it when he loses a crew member, but he's never lost anyone that he's been so close to.
Yeah.
Hey, you know that black guy that was in the back with the headache? I think that was Rutherford. That's my new headcanon. That was Rutherford. Ow, my implants.
Why was it so hot? Every time I touched it, it just burned. You know, going back to Lower Decks, I don't feel like that scene was really the dolphins trying to seduce anyone. It just shows like the ridiculousness of having a dolphin on board. They'd always have their mind on play. Or beluga whale.
Do you even really see a difference?
Nope. Nope, I'm that speciesist.
Well, Turd, I tell you, you know, as far as I get it. As far as I was in the Army, I get the whole, you know, military brethren kind of thing. But even when I was a kid, I bawled my eyes out when I saw this for the first time. When I realized they were actually killing Spock, yeah.
I'm actually in the middle of writing up a script for a video in which one of the points I talk about is how the Enterprise is another character in the show.
Yeah.
And the pain you feel watching it burn across the sky in the next movie is close to this moment with
It
Spock.
was, I think it was well done, but I think that it didn't carry the same weight because we didn't get enough time to properly mourn it.
The way we're getting right now with Spock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex says, all right, I just come from Jonah's loft. He said the giraffe's blood be iced, boxed, and ready for transport in 1 hour, but he's expecting a 40% cut now. What do you think? Too steep?
Giraffe blood.
What?
Is that used for blood wine?
No idea what you're talking about there, Alex. And Cinnabon says it's funny. His face is all messed up, but his hair is still perfect. Well, radiation obviously doesn't affect your hair.
Oh, that voice tremble.
Yeah, that was so...
When people badmouth Kirk, I'm like, this is a scene to go to, okay, people?
Yeah.
Yes, in the 60s, there was an acting style that Kirk came from that lends itself to ridicule.
But there are a lot of shows that you could say that about.
Yes, and William Shatner himself was an excellent actor, even if I think he is a bit of a crap human being.
You think he's a crap human being?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
He is.
You're a jerk.
Anytime people try to interact with him, he's always out to just ridicule and mock them.
He was really nice to me.
That's true. You did have a good interaction with him. which unfortunately I feel is all too rare. I mean, when you have him just ready to berate people at the drop of a hat.
Well, he and George Takei have their thing, which I'd never...
Oh, goodness, do they ever.
Yeah. Apparently, George Takei is making fun of him for, being an unfit space guinea pig now. But whatever.
Yeah, I saw that.
Look at that. Look at that. Did you see that?
Yeah, they're broken.
Okay. So can you please shut up about the continuity problem?
No, I will be talking about that come...
It's not a continuity problem, though.
It is, though. Because Kirk sells them... No.
They're obviously not the same glasses.
We will talk about this.
Those glasses, I think what John, what I think, we'll talk about it after the movie's over. I'll punch him in the face verbally in a minute. I know what he's getting at, but you see, what he's forgetting is the triple timeline. He's in the wrong timeline. I also don't particularly like the fact that in Star Trek 3, while I do think, like, William Shatner, again, getting a lot of credit, like, when he takes the gut punch when they kill David, right? And when he falls back and does that really, really well. And similarly, when they take down the Enterprise, it was well done. But they shouldn't have done both in the same movie.
Okay.
Because now it's like, oh, okay, so we're just going to... What else can we do? Well, we haven't killed McCoy yet. It's like, come on.
Chekhov is doing fine. I do like this interaction.
Well, yeah, but
between Kirk and David at the end.
But see, like, I think this interaction might have had more meaning had David not died in the next movie.
Details.
Hey, Yosef, how you doing?
Hey.
In the next movie. Because we'll make another movie.
Do you think they meant, or do you think they knew they were going to bring Spock back at this point?
Well, that's why it was actually, they were originally going to make it less, like they were just going to be like, yeah, he's dead. But then they opened it up. They added the mind meld thing, the soft landing of the torpedo, that stuff at the end, because they were like, you know what, we might do another one, so just in case, let's leave the door open. And obviously it was a good move. And of course, all they had to do was offer Leonard Nimoy a director's credit, and bam.
It helps. I mean, it definitely definitely helps.
So Alex said, giraffe's blood isn't cheap, especially when they're out of season. Most restaurants use cheaper substitutes like zebra or gazelle. Well, then I guess 40% seems reasonable. I mean, if it's going for a premium, 40% of a high premium is better than, 60% of nothing. Now you see, what really would have been on the nose is they should have showed like baby Spock crawling away from the from the torpedo.
A Mark 6 torpedo.
Yes. You know what would suck would be
Mark
to be
4
a
simulator.
Yeah, it'd be a huge. It would suck to be a huge fan of sci-fi and to be named Mark.
Yes. I still love this narration that they do for the opening of TOS and TNG.
But
It's kind of a shame they didn't do it for Voyager or
Well,
DS9.
well, it makes sense that they wouldn't do it for Voyager or Deep Space Nine though, because Voyager and Deep Space
They were the
Nine
Enterprise.
don't have that mission. But the problem is, I mean, my biggest problem with is TNG changing it to where no one has gone before. Because
Right.
where no man has gone before is accurate. Where no one has gone before is not. You know that, right?
Yeah. Because obviously there are aliens there.
Right.
Someone has gone there before.
Right. But no human has been there, and man implies human.
Right.
Mankind. Now, if you want to get pedantic and you want to say man is gender, so you could say where no human has gone before, but that doesn't kind of have a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
And Donnie gives us 10 out of 10 Starfleet Deltas for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, the director's edition. I gotta agree, 10 out of 10 Starfleet Deltas. Now, there is that one line that still bugs me every single time, so I'll give it a 9.9. Because when there is an obvious flaw in a movie, I gotta call it out. And there is one obvious flaw with this film. And it is a simple error that should have been fixed. I can't believe it wasn't. And that is, as they're entering the nebula, Saavik delivers a line. And she says, "The problem with the nebula, sir, is all that static and gases clouds our tactical display. Visual won't function, and the shields shields won't work or something." And Spock says, "Sauce for the goose, the odds will be even," right? But she's backwards. It's the static and gases cloud the visual display, and tactical won't function.
Okay. Yeah. I see the difference there.
Yeah. And so she said the line backwards, and they never caught it, and it made it into the final edit of the film. And the funny thing is, then the Reliant goes in, and the first thing that Kahn says is tactical, and he goes, "Not functional, sir." And it's like, well, yeah, because it's clouded, apparently.
Yeah, off the cuff, I'd give this 9.7 out of 10.
Wow. Well, so why did you knock off the extra 2/10?
There were a couple continuity issues, things like Chekhov, being like, "I remember you."
No,
and I
well,
never
we
forget a
know about the
face."
Chekhov thing. He clogged up the toilet.
Yeah.
That's why Khan sounded so menacing there.
And then, but I mean, beyond that, score, just bar none amazing.
Yeah.
They did a good job with the score throughout the whole movie.
Oh yeah, one of the best
Pacing
scores
was
ever.
tight. Also, there's I do have a nitpick about which planet exploded and caused them to be confused. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
All right. So let's talk about your stupid
pandemic
circular
things,
glasses
pandemic
for a
things.
second, before we get to the end of the
Let's
credits.
talk about the
here.
glasses.
Because remember, I did promise no shenanigans until the end of the credits.
Yeah.
And
So my issue with the glasses is in Star Trek 4, Kirk pawns them. And And Spock makes a comment like, "Didn't you get these as a present from McCoy on your
Right.
birthday?"
And he jokingly
Kirk goes,
says, "And they will be again."
"Yeah, that's the beauty of it."
Yeah. When obviously Kirk was kidding, he didn't literally mean that these glasses are the same ones that McCoy is going to give me, because that
I
would
disagree.
be an infinite loop, and a violation of causal relations and temporal vortexes would ensue.
I disagree. This was supposed to be the same glasses.
Then where did the glasses come from originally?
You're right. It's a paradox, but that's
No.
one of the issues.
So you see that there's no such thing as a paradox. It's just something that you don't. So the glasses were created in what was 17th century or 19th century or whatever, right? And so then they survived until the 23rd century, where Dr. McCoy found them, gave them to Kirk. They went back in time. Kirk sold them for $100, and that's the end of it.
Even presuming that, the glasses Kirk sold have no crack on them.
Right.
But
Because
they're supposed to be the ones McCoy gave him.
But wait, look at that logo.
There we go.
Just look at that logo.
I like all those stars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on. Come on, man.
I don't know what your problem is.
All those flippin' dolphins. Where did you even find this animation?
Just stare into
so John's
it.
saying the guy said they have a crack. I actually have the image pulled up right now. And
You're supposed to be looking at your face.
the crack is on the left lens. And it's a very small, a hairline fracture. It is not shattered. If like we see at the end of Wrath of Khan here. And that is an anatomically correct dolphin right there, I just noticed.
Yes, it is. And, singing. We got music playing and lots of dolphins just jovially swimming around for you.
It's like the beginning of Echo. Dolphins everywhere.
I don't know why Kurogans hate dolphins, Alphys. I don't.
Because dolphins frequently take advantage of tourists. You think they're friendly? No. A dolphin will take your blushing bride before you can blink twice.
And you know this because
The internet knows everything. That's true, Captain. The glasses would have more damage, but the problem is they have less damage by the time we get to the antique dealer.
So you're saying that the damage has decreased?
Indeed I am.
So I just wanted you to feel special by having some dolphin time there at the end.
You're a giver.
To make up
Michael.
for all the non-shenanigans that we had. I mean, we had the entire episode of Space Seed and the entirety of Star Trek II with no shenanigans. So we had to make up for all of that.
You're just so ready to give more of yourself. It's truly
I truly am.
inspiring.
I'm a wonderful human being. But I don't. So I understand if you want to argue that the well, first of all, as far as the cracks not being identical at the end of this movie compared to what we see in the glasses in Star Trek 4, because I don't think we see the glasses in Star Trek 3 at all. If I remember correctly, I don't think we ever see the glasses until Kirk goes to sell them in Star Trek 4. But okay, if you want to complain that the cracks in the lenses aren't the same in Star Trek 4 as they are here, fine, but that's a continuity error on Star Trek 4, not a continuity error here.
Fair, very fair, yes.
Right. Now, but it's still, I mean, it's not a, but it's still not a problem as far as this temporal vortex thing of yours, where the universe is broken because there should be some kind of weird thing, because honestly, it's just that you're reading too deep into it. There's not this.
No, my only complaint is the crack issue.
Well,
That.
well, then you should complain about that on Star Trek 4. That shouldn't take points off of this movie.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Tell you what, I'll bump it up to a 9.8.
Okay. So
even with that we still have some slight nitpicky things, like the planet blowing up and causing the shifting really makes no sense whatsoever.
well, I don't necessarily think. I think when it comes to that, it would depend on the positions of the planet, what exactly happened. Like if you have a solar system, first of all, we don't know how many planets are in the SETI Alpha system, except that there's at least 6 planets, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
that explosion would have had to have pushed SETI Alpha 5 out past 7's orbit, such that you thought.
Or not necessarily. All it would have to do is make SETI Alpha 5's orbit be closer to SETI Alpha 6's orbit than SETI Alpha 5's orbit.
All right. I could see where you're going with that. It still doesn't make any sense. Having 1, 2, or 3 blow up and moving, or even 4, and 1, 2, 3, or 4 blow up, and that moves 5 out a little bit and messes up the positioning, I can understand that a lot more. But having one further out blow up, and that I just couldn't accept. Or maybe if they thought they were going to SETI Alpha 4.
Remember, what
6 blew up and it moved
Kahn specifically said was that the shock is what shifted the orbit of the planet, not the gravitational forces. Because, granted,
Yes.
now I know this is some wonky, not science here, because number one, shock waves do not travel through space. All right, so let's just get that out of the way. That's something we see all the time in Star Trek, but it's completely bogus. It doesn't work that way.
Sure. There's no atmosphere to compress.
Right, yeah, you need a medium for a shock wave to go through. And that simply does not exist. Oh, and thank you, Captain Foley. Let's see, what did you find? So Captain Foley just brought up a picture of the glasses from both Star Trek 4 and, let's see, and they look pretty close. I mean, in Star Trek 4, I would say that I would agree that they look slightly less cracked, but they look pretty similar. I think the pattern of the cracking is very similar. But when we watch Star Trek 4, I'll kind of I mean, I don't think it's enough to where, to me, it's like I'm worried about the continuity of it. But
maybe he got a better shot than I did.
Yeah, he's got a picture. Yeah, a picture of him on the table next to. Oh, thank you. It's a little. It's hard to see. Like let me go to. I'll share the screen here with you. All right, so here is the Star Trek 4 image. I know it's a little hard to see, but you see the glasses right there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then compare that to the image from Star Trek 2.
So that one would have been the right lens being broken. If I'm doing my
right.
And okay.
That's definitely
a better shot than the one I was looking at.
Yeah, it's
Fair
definitely
enough.
the same lens. The pattern looks similar. It might not be identical, but it's similar.
Okay, fair enough. The image I was looking at, and that one really catches the light well. The one I was looking at, it looked like there was a single tiny fracture across the lens. Like it looked like just a tiny little psst, but that one was really hitting the light so you could see the full extent of the damage.
Captain Foley is desperate to prove you wrong. He's like, I can get a better picture if you want.
No, that one does a better job. I'll recant that.
But the no, I forgot what was I saying?
So we're talking about planetary positioning and
yeah. So forgetting about the fact that shockwaves don't work in space, but
yeah.
If it was the shockwave that shifted the orbit of the planet, then I would presume that it was when the two planets were at their closest or near their closest to each other that SETI Alpha 6 exploded. And so what could have happened is, let's say SETI Alpha 6 was directly behind, not directly behind, but like, or actually even if, let's say, like if their orbits are fairly close to each other, SETI Alpha 6 is behind SETI Alpha 5, it explodes, the shock wave pushes SETI Alpha 5 forward, accelerates it basically, would push it out to a further out orbit. I mean, I'm thinking about it like the way that a lay person who doesn't understand astrophysics and is just thinking of basic, simple Newtonian physics and projecting it out into space. And
see, I can understand that, but even still, just the way, even just as a lay person, there are so many other ways they could have addressed that, and I feel like they quickly said it, and no one actually stopped.
Wow, we are just getting tons of the bots today. Line was because they're
hey, maybe if we change this a little bit, that'd make more sense. So I fully admit this is a nitpick thing. This is not something that's ruining the movie for me. It's just something where I go, hey, if they had thought about this just a half second more. I mean, honestly, if they thought about this a half second more, I think it would have made more sense to have Chekhov deliberately going to check in on Kahn instead of, oh, we're just coincidentally going to the planet right next door to where Kahn was. Oh crap, we're actually on Kahn's planet. We need to leave immediately, but we don't have transporters. Like, no, just go check in on Kahn, will ya? And then have things like, wait, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense. Kahn is not at all happy to see them. Maybe even bring up the fact that the lady died because they didn't leave them with enough supplies. They didn't do a proper research of the planet, and it turned out not to be at all hospitable. Things like that, I think would have made for a tighter story. So, tiny things that takes it from being a perfect score to an almost.
Sure. And of course, because you know how Captain Foley is, here we go. There's a clear image where you can see that hole there.
Foley, are you listening? I already conceded the point. You got
he wants to he absolutely wants to prove beyond the Foley is one of those people he don't want to just prove himself. He wants to prove it and then prove it and then prove it again.
Yeah, the first photo you sent was much better than the initial one I saw. The initial one I saw, it looked practically perfect. But yes, seeing it like this makes me think that they literally took the exact same pair of glasses.
And he said, and Foley's message to me was, "Don't F with the master's son." Only he didn't say
I'm
F.
I'm not worthy. I apologize.
So yes, I definitely yes. Those are some seriously busted up glasses. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, as far as the physics, like if I was going to have Dr. Alex on and talk about if another planet in our solar system blew up, could it possibly knock Earth into an orbit that would do to us what happened to SETI Alpha 5? Dr. Alex would probably say, I might answer yes if I drank a gallon of scotch, right? But
I know without Saturn affecting our orbit, we might get closer to the sun. And I mean, honestly, over enough time, we might actually fall into the sun. But we would at least probably increase our proximity to the sun, and life would definitely get worse. Would we leave the Goldilocks zone? How would that affect us? That's an interesting question.
But you see, with in Kahn's case, the problem is we don't know enough about the layout of the Ceti Alpha system.
Yeah.
And so, like think about if it was Uranus, or I'm sorry, I know they renamed it to Eurectum, and what was it? And Pluto, right before Pluto got deplanetized, right? And their orbits actually crossed each other. Mm-hmm. And so, what if Ceti Alpha 6 and Ceti Alpha 5 had orbits like that, right? And so there were times when Ceti Alpha 6 was actually closer to the sun than Ceti Alpha 5, depending on what time of the year it was. In which case, depending on what time of the year it was when Ceti Alpha 6 blew, could actually push Ceti Alpha 5 further out, or could just make it so that a routine sweep of the system and your computer doesn't know the difference, and so it just assumes that's Ceti Alpha 6 because it's where the system thought Ceti Alpha 6 should be.
Yeah, all that stuff is just so tenuous.
Well, are you trying to tell me the computer systems are perfect and flawless and always identify things correctly? Come on, Mr. Works at a poop extractor facility. You know.
Obviously not. Obviously not. It's just, like I said, there are so many different ways they could have taken it rather than just, oh, hey, we're at the planet immediately adjacent to Kahn. And oops, we're on Kahn's planet. Like, no, just go check in on him.
Well, they didn't.
That's right, they didn't.
Now, they could have done something. I mean, honestly, like there's a few ways they could have done it. Like if I might have, if Nicholas Meyer gave me a pass at the script, maybe have a little thing where, and yes, Turd Ferguson, Matthew does in fact extract poop for a living. And I
heard that is almost true.
It is true. Well, you program poop extractors.
It's actually been many years since I've done that. I'm typically working on oil and gas stations. But yes, I go to water and wastewater plants from time to time. I program the equipment.
He programs poop extractors.
I program poop.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, the what I might consider doing if Nicholas Meyer was like running it by me would say, well, what if there was a civilian ship that was looking for potential sites to set up mining operations, and they didn't know about the Kahn situation, and so they were touching down on Ceti Alpha 5 just looking for possible dilithium mining or something, and Kahn and his people took over the ship, and or then that can just be your backstory to Reliant is looking for a site for Genesis. They find, Chekhov, for whatever reason, is going with Captain Terrell. Actually, and here's what you do. You have Chekhov, Kyle, and Terrell beam down. And Kyle's like, the Botany Bay? Oh, no, I remember those guys. Now, I get the whole thing with Chekhov. Did you ever hear the actual story from Walter Koenig as to why?
No.
So when they wrote the script, Walter Koenig knew full well that was a mistake. That Kahn should not recognize Chekhov, but he purposely did not point that out. Because he knew that if he did point it out, what would probably happen is Chekhov's nice, juicy part would be replaced with a person who did meet Kahn from the original series. And he didn't want to lose that nice, juicy part.
Fair enough. Fair enough, Walter.
Yeah, so he just forgot to mention it, and so anyway, don't read that comment from Turd Ferguson. You don't want to read that comment from Turd Ferguson.
Oh no, I was actually going to say, fascinatingly, technically, I don't program poop extractors. I program water extractors to get water back out of
the poop. He extracts the water from the poop. He dehydrates poop.
By the time you get to the wastewater treatment plant, there's no more poop. Poop is water soluble. It's just one liquid mess by then. The point is, you send
it's
it through
fecal slurry, if you will.
It's what it smells like crap. Okay,
it's fecal slurry.
But in the book of I believe it's Romans, Paul talks about how all our good deeds are like filthy rags. I have seen the rags Paul talks about. They are disgusting.
Like, they make commercials for what Matthew does, and Matthew comes busting through a brick wall, and he's like, "Oh, crap!"
But as your question, Turd, anything that is not liquid, there's a variety of ways of doing it, but the ones I've typically seen are bar screens, which is just
you don't need to go into the
little
details.
metal fins, and they catch solids like twigs, dollar bills, shoes.
Do you actually keep the dollar bills that you find?
No, but yes, the workers, like the people who work at the plants like full time, yes, that dollar bill does go back into circulation. They pull it out, and I have horror stories. So many horror stories from these wastewater treatment plants. Things that you wouldn't think.
Okay, you know what? I don't need to know any more about your poop extraction stuff. Yeah, don't ask him any more questions about poop extraction, please.
Fascinating. No,
it's not fascinating. I don't want to hear about
pulling. Don't drill too deep into it. Like the process of the water, it goes through anaerobic, anoxic, aerobic exercises stuff, and all the bacteria gets eaten away, and then you purify it with different methods. Fascinating process. When you meet the people who work there, fascinating is a word you could use still.
Would you shake their hand willingly if you knew they worked there?
Great question. You are a fan of Isaac Asimov, are you not?
Yeah.
By any chance, did you ever read his short story about the waste plant people?
No, I don't.
Where they're on an asteroid, and there was a family. The family lived far away from everyone else.
Of course, that'd be the one short story that he remembers. Be about the waste family.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the family does, like literally, they have women sent to them. Like someone loses a lottery, and that's how you find the wife for the people. And they push a button, and by pushing the button on the waste system, everything works. And they decide to stop working because they're tired of being literally prisoners in this area. And so there's this guy who's an ambassador, and he finally ends it by going in and pushes the button, but they don't let him come back out again because it's untouchable. No, I wouldn't shake their hands. That's what it comes down to. Oh gosh, I have shaken their hands. It's the things they do, man. The things they do. It's a thing.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, don't shake the hands of people that work in the poop extraction plants.
Just make sure that they're on an off day, or that they've taken the shower.
Or that you have plenty of Purell handy.
They have amazingly robust immune systems.
I'm sure they do.
You will be like, literally, this happened to me even. Once I started working there, I was sick for 2 weeks. And then, aside from getting food poisoning and my usual asthma turns, allergy stuff, I don't get sick anymore.
So now that you've had so much poop exposure that you have a super immune system.
I do.
So there,
and
you should. You know what? You need to
less super.
You need to put out like a YouTube course on how to avoid ever getting sick. You know, your new. Oh man, I'll tell you, I've got it right now. First of all, here's what you do: you start collecting some of this poop slurry, and you fill like an Olympic-sized swimming pool with poop slurry, and you start having people come to your Olympic-sized poop pool and swimming in it, and they pay you like $1,000 for like a 10-minute swim in your poop slurry pool. And of course, here's the beauty of it. Here's the beauty of it. You have a big sign that says, "Please pee in the pool." And so, oh gosh. And by the way, you can poop in the pool too, all you want. We don't care. And then you just say, you know what? You pay $1,000 each time, and we guarantee that after you've done, now you'll get sick. You're gonna vomit, but don't worry, you can vomit in the pool. That's fine. We don't care. But you're gonna get sick. You're gonna feel like crap because you're swimming in crap and vomit and all sorts of nastiness. But eventually, you're going to build a super immune system, and you'll never get sick again. And you won't with all that, you won't have to get.
It's literally biohazardous. I mean, you go in and you might come out with like HIV or something. I mean, this is no.
Well, you put in a few drops of chlorine.
Yeah, that'll do it.
The chlorine like runs away, like the Terminator, just like.
Well, one of the first places I worked, they had a pipe failure. There was.
I don't think I want to know.
In the basement, there was 2 feet of wastewater, like not gray water, because right. you understand.
Black water, yeah, I know the difference.
And then you have just gray water, which is honestly, even your water hose is technically gray. And then you have, the black water. It was black water, not in color, but in quality.
Right, I understand.
And John, why did we start talking about that? I don't know.
Because that's what Kurogans like to talk about.
The fascinating scientific process.
So
amazing, even.
Yeah, so that's what the surface of SETI Alpha 5 is like. It's like this huge surface of poop slurry. And Kahn is swimming in it.
How much corn do they recover? Gross.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is corn? Do you find corn in it?
No.
So corn
rags, sticks, dollar bills.
Where did all the corn go?
It gets so. I mean, honestly, if you want to talk about this, so obviously water goes downhill, and then you got to pump it back up. So you have lift stations every once in a while, and the impeller motors of pumps tend to grind up any solids.
So it grinds the corn into the slurry.
Yeah. Now, I mean, by the time it gets
cornmeal is made of poop slurry.
No.
That's what I'm getting from what you're saying. Because you're saying
no. I think you're saying it backwards. That poop slurry could contain cornmeal.
Right.
Or creamed corn. Gross. Oh, gross.
I will never eat creamed corn again.
Oh, I've made too strong a connection there. Oh, gosh. I have a little bile in my mouth. Thank you for that, Joseph. That was just the perfect combination. Because I already don't like creamed corn to begin with, but just the connection between that smell.
Yes, you're just picturing that creamed corn. Lather it on your body.
I'm okay.
Bathing in creamed corn.
Anyway, back to Kahn.
Oh, I've done far worse than hurt you. I've made you creamed corn. I wish to go on watching you eat creamed corn.
Yes, Indy, that is why you don't walk around in flood water without waders, because the sewer system, it comes. You know, I had a friend. He went strong into the charismatic movement, and then as he
Wow.
went
So
through this
you went straight
process-
from cream corn to charismatic churches. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a reason for this. But he, as part of this process, he began to believe that water has memory. And so if you prayed the Holy Spirit into it, you could drink the Holy Spirit into yourself.
What?
And get revitalized. Yeah. And I tried to talk to him like, man, you don't want water to have memory. I have been to the place your water comes from. You don't want to remember it. And he's like, okay, well, maybe I don't know all the way that water has memory, but I still believe this. I'm like, oh, I can't debate this person. The point at which a person goes, I'm going to continue to believe this despite the fact I know I'm wrong. It's like, well, all right. Well, I guess this conversation is done. Thank you.
So next week, we're going to be watching Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Indeed.
Now,
which I rated low.
Yes, you rated this one low. Now, I think that Star Trek 3 gets way too much hate. I think that it gets it's unfair how much Star Trek 3 is railed upon by people who say, "Oh, it's an odd-numbered Star Trek film, and odd-numbered Star Trek films suck." I think it's actually a good film. I do think that it's unfortunate. It's not a perfect film. It's nowhere near. And I think the reason people think it sucks is because it came right off the heels of Star Trek 2. You know, it's like, imagine that you have the world's best pizza, but you had the world's best pizza as a follow-up meal after having the world's best filet mignon. That world's best pizza now is like garbage, right? It's because you just had the world's best filet mignon. So it's like, it doesn't compare. But if you just had the world's best pizza on its own, you're like, oh, that's good pizza, right? So Star Trek 3 is like good pizza. It's just not filet mignon like Star Trek 2.
Yeah, in fact, we were talking about the fact that I attributed many of the scenes from Star Trek 3 that were like the best scenes to Star Trek 2.
Because you're an idiot.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Now, so Star Trek 3, it does, unfortunately, we will see the death of the Enterprise, the death of David. But Star Trek 3 introduces a lot of interesting new stuff, like space dock. This will be our first view of space dock, the Excelsior, the Oberth class ship with the Grissom, the Klingon bird of prey, which, for better or for worse, becomes kind of a mainstay of the Klingon fleet. Our first real Klingon characters since the reimagining of the Klingons from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, with Commander Krug and his team, and it's a fun adventure. As the crew tries to now recover Spock's body. Because they didn't realize, oops, you mean Vulcans have traditions that we were violating by just, crapping his body out into space? Sorry about that. And so they're going to try and recover Spock's body. Now, there are a couple of plot holes, which I've heard people mention, like, it seems kind of magical that Kirk figures out that Spock's body isn't Genesis, because there's really no reason for him to know that. And there's there's also there's this huge leap, like, why is it that Spock's body needs to be recovered at all? But because basically when Sarek shows up and he says, only Spock's body is in death, but his Katra is spirit, would be transferred to someone else, and they figured out that the spirit was transferred to McCoy. Okay, well, you just take McCoy to Vulcan and transfers Katra to the Hall of Katras or whatever, and you're done. The end. Right? Isn't that all you need to do?
Yeah.
What else? You're not planning on, like, resurrecting his body, are you? So...
Yeah, but somehow Kirk makes that connection, like, oh, hey.
Yeah, so somehow we need to get his body back, and so but there's no reason for it. So there's a couple of minor problems like that, but overall it's a pretty good movie. So what episode of the original series do you suppose we'll be watching?
What would mash up with?
And don't help him in the chat.
We got Klingons. Got stealing the ship.
Yeah, stealing the Enterprise is a truly great scene.
I got nothing for this. I mean, you could do the episode with Spock's dad.
Yeah,
but even with, I don't feel like that's a. I feel like I'm probably missing a stronger connection.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about it until a couple of people suggested it, and I was hesitant, but then the more I thought about it, the more it made sense.
Yeah, I got nothing.
It's actually an episode that a lot of people hate, but I do have a soft spot for because it's
Spock's brain?
Yep, it's the first episode I ever watched. But yes, Spock's brain, which is a search for Spock's mind that has been removed from his body.
I only got it because you said it was one you hate, and I'm like,
no, it's not one that I hate.
know.
It's one that's commonly hated.
Oh, okay. I've heard you speak disparagingly.
I don't hate Spock's brain. I have a soft spot for Spock's brain. No, I think it's I think it's a fun episode. I think it's silly, but I mean,
so I only made the connection because I didn't remember what you actually said about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a me thing.
Yeah, but think about it. Spock's brain is an episode where someone shows up and steals Spock's mind, so that it's the opposite of the search for Spock, because they have his body, but his brain is taken.
All right.
And so they go on a search for Spock's mind, and they have his body, and so they're trying to reunite them. But yeah, Space Doc, how do we have a yellow this is the captain. How do we have a yellow alert while we're in Space Doc? Sir, someone's stealing the Enterprise. I'm on my way.
And yes, any Tiger, water comes from a water treatment plant, not a wastewater treatment. The wastewater just makes it clean enough to dump into the river. Humorously, California, they advertised, and the name of their advertisement campaign was "Toilet to Tap."
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, and they're trying to show how you lose, like you have a lot of evaporation because you dump it in the lake, and then at the end of the lake you pick it up at the end of the river. So what they did is they took the wastewater treatment, and the exit of the treatment went straight into the freshwater treatment. And people flipped their minds. I don't want to be drinking toilet water. So instead they dump it in the ocean, and within a couple of years, we have a water shortage problem. Weird.
Well, Californian water shortage problems just mean it's Tuesday. I mean, I grew up in California, and droughts in California is just like, yeah, that just means it's summertime. But yeah, I don't know, John. I tried to get away from the topic, but Matthew just wants to go back to poop slurry. That's all he wants to talk about for some reason. He's just.
That's a fascinating subject. Come on.
Really? Do you ever? I'm curious. Have you ever had a dream where you were swimming in a vat of cream corn?
No.
Would you like to?
No. Although, if you ever fell into an aeration basin, which is where they aerate the water to encourage the different stages of anaerobic treatment, you will die. Like, the water is so aerated that you don't float in it. You just sink to the bottom.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of the first things I learned because I said, well, why aren't there any ladders on this tank? And they're like, why would we want, like, what's the point of a ladder? You just die. It's basically like there's no water there at all. I'm like, oh, well, and we're standing over this. I suddenly feel so much safer.
So basically what you're saying is you want to die.
No, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. I definitely don't want to die.
Well, it seems to me like you just want to die. That you like swimming in cream corn and poop slurry, and you want to have a swimming pool full of aerated water that you can't swim in.
I'm concerned that you've been hanging out with me too much. Comprehension level is dropping.
Well, I do
Disturbing
suffer
levels.
from MS. Was Captain Styles the same person as Lieutenant Styles? I don't think so.
That would have been a neat connection, though. I enjoy those kind of subtle connections.
But Starfleet is a rather large organization. I mean, you know, so I don't think that everybody with the same last name is necessarily related. However, I'm very suspicious that Lon Noonien Singh might be related to Kahn Noonien Singh. And I'm really wondering why we have a character in Strange New Worlds called Lon Noonien Singh. That makes no sense whatsoever to me.
Hey, we're going to need to wrap it up here. I got a kid stirring. I'm on duty.
Okay. So what did we learn today? We learned Star Trek II is the best Star Trek movie ever, and that Matthew loves creamed corn. So make sure that... Do you have a post office box or something that people can send creamed corn to?
I've thought about it, but I think I'm going to not.
Oh, man. If you did, I would so send you a case of creamed corn right now. Go to Amazon right now. And, man, another one of those stupid bots? What is with those things today?
I hidden them.
Yeah, we've gotten, like, a bunch of them. They're annoying. He's on duty. Yes, he's on duty. He's always on. But, you know, so...
okay, that's it. I gotta run. Sorry.
All right, have a good one, Matthew. And thank you all for hanging out with us as Matthew goes on duty patrol. And yeah, so next week, Star Trek 3. And after that, we'll be doing the Halloween special. And yeah, Matthew has no idea what he's in store for then, because we're watching not only the Robert Bloch written episode Cat's Paw, but the wonderful classic horrific film The Happening. So that should be lots of fun. All right, guys, so take care, live long and prosper, and have a wonderful night. Try not to think too much about cream corn.